And we're back. We're back once again for another little live stream on this lovely little Wednesday, which is actually kind of a special Wednesday because we got some FOMC action going on right now and something perhaps even new as well, as we got the new Fed chair speaking a little bit later today. I think it's going to be coming in around pretty much like literally at the end of this stream. So perhaps we'll see it all together, which will be pretty damn cool. But until then, you know, I expect that thing's going to be kind of hanging around where they're at right now. But I see a lot of good things going on in the background. I see a lot of interesting things going on in the background. And whoops, I hear myself double speaking right there. My bad. Let me mute my other screen because that's going to be really fucking annoying. So apologies about that. See a lot of familiar faces in here as well. Mr. Chimpy Phil, good morning to you, man. Mr. Pow Pow, Zarius, Hoi Hoi, Salmon, Kikagen with the Japanese characters. Fuck yeah, man. We love the Japanese. The Japanese better than us. It's just true, man. They're just an evolved race. I was watching. I was watching like I actually haven't watched the World Cup, but I watched a video of the World Cup. And after the Japanese team played their match in the World Cup, the Japanese team and the Japanese fans cleaned up their area of the stadium. Like, they're just better. I'm sorry, they're just better. Their culture's better. Not all cultures are equal. Japanese are probably the top at the top at the top. Goddamn, man. If only we could be as such. But alas, we are just poverty Americans here, and that's all good because America's pretty damn cool too. Fad one, good morning to you, man. Ahoy as well. Sanaz, hello to you too. Chris Vela, present indeed. Fuck yeah, man. Ondo Poncho, Jay Stevens, Plebamy, Erica Foynmeyer, Daryl P. Who else we got? Peppy LePew, Peepo, please, indeed. And Asti, Yarbrook, Wolfie, when this start? Well, there's actually literally a countdown on the video itself, but it started now. It started indeed now. Fuck yeah, man. I see some Lomachella Azil says, I have a dream last night about Krown. A little gay. There's nothing gay about having a dream. There's literally nothing gay about having sex with another man. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. What kind of world do we live in right now? It's all good in the hood. It's all normal. It's all acceptable. Fuck yeah, man. Let's go bone each other before this stream. Beautiful. Fucking beautiful. Anyways, the only John too. Good morning to you, man. Love seeing in the group as well, man. I do have to give a special shout out to you for the really, really well-formed questions as well. I really enjoy that. I've actually really been enjoying, responding to that group. It has quietly been like very fulfilling, I suppose, and also really forced me to kind of think in more, I guess, unique ways. But that's exactly what I need, because as I program this new AI chatbot that's going to be based off of my sort of long-term analysis, that's exactly what I need. So I love that, man. I'm really loving that group. So hope you're loving it as well. That's the gayest thing you've ever said, sir? No, it is not. No. The gayest thing that you can do is get married to another man. There's nothing else is gayer than that. Having sex with another man, that is just, trying out new things. And that's what we're all about here. We're open-minded, and we like to explore unexplored territories. Nothing gay about that, sir. Don't be ridiculous. God, man. Anyways, peace be upon you. Peace be upon you as well. Man, there's all these. Where are people getting these Japanese characters from? They must be just copying it over from AI. And I see an amazing Lutfi Maradova question as well. Matador MC. Yeah, man. Japanese are OGs. They, when I was younger, I actually thought anime was gay. I just didn't care about it. Thought it was kind of like weird and for kids, but man, like a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year, I actually just randomly started watching this anime. It was called Demon Slayers, and it was awesome. It was just like a hero's journey sort of story. And honestly, man, I love any movie or show or anything that just picks the hero's journey. It's the integral story of mankind. It's the most important myth. It's what a lot of religions are even based upon, even though, it's not explicitly said. And it is, it's really the way that I think us humans kind of progress and, learn new things and then spread that knowledge to our communities. And that hopefully makes everyone better, Anyways, I do want to call out Luffy Maradova right off the bat on this live stream, because I do see that she had the first super chat. Luffy has been she is amazing. She gets it, and she finds some of these amazing shortable shit coins. So I do want to call this one out. She says, hello, sir. Could you please check out WLD? I'm looking for a swing short, as always. Do we think the top is in? I want to go to it really quickly here. This is WorldCoin. So I want to call out one thing just right off the bat. This this project is backed by Andreessen Horowitz by A16Z, right? You know, I happen to love that guy as an investor, but I'm curious to see what the actual project looks like over here. So maybe I guess we go to Coinbase for this. And this is like I think it's like a retinal scan sort of thing, whatever. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But look, there's a lot of things that I like about shorting shit like this. Okay, maybe Coinbase has not the most history. Maybe Binance has more history. Yeah, definitely more history on Binance. We have a never-ending downtrend on a long-term shitcoin. We have a massive volume apex on this move, and we also are testing, or WorldCoin is testing, WorldCoin, testing that blue 377 EMA right there. And so far rejecting. That's kind of around where these previous rallies have been rejected from. I mean, to be fair, we see this one from September of last year. It did inevitably top out around there and provided an amazing swing short, but it did also exist quite significantly above that major moving average. Let's see, about 40%, or a little bit more than 40% to be fair. The one before that, again, same thing over here. You know, it started to really lose its luster around that region, but after it reclaimed that major moving average, another 40% move to the upside almost. So, you know, do I just blindly short it right here? I definitely see the setup. I see what you're looking at. I think you have the right idea. Just be aware. I mean, previously, you know, it has gone higher, to be fair. The weekly time frame also is seemingly topping out at the green 55 EMA. And you see the same thing over here, again, from that 2025 high and also again in 2024. A little bit more obvious on the 2025 high. You can see basically the closing price was effectively right on it. And yes, you did get wicks above. So basically any move above is probably shortable, at least historically speaking. But right now, you're just getting your first sort of test into that major moving average and, you know, and pulling back from it. So it might be a bit premature. I think it's the right idea. And I think you've called out a lot of these ones, especially the ones where like they're probably in the process of topping, you know, in terms of timing, it's probably not that far away. But you might have to eat a massive green dildo to the upside in the interim. Before it, you know, officially plays out that move. So you're probably going to end up being right. It's just, could you get a better price? Historically speaking, you know, that has been the case. But I do want to call out a few things here, because on the daily time frame, daily RSI is potentially going to put in 3 drives of bearish divergence as of today, you know, if it does confirm a local high right here. So how would you confirm a local high right here? If this one flips back down, and this is not going to be a today thing, but tomorrow on Thursday, if it were to close back down below whatever today's low is, right now it's about 64 cents. So, you know, that might change intraday here, especially with the FOMC coming up later. But if you see tomorrow, Thursday, close below whatever the wick low is of today, you probably have, you know, at least a nice 10% move to the downside, maybe more. I mean, you know, generally I target at least that red 5 EMA. I mean, well, definitely the red 5 EMA, and then the yellow 21 EMA is a high probability target as well. That's going to be crawling its way up to about 50 cents. So, you know, that's about a 20-ish% move, a little bit more than 20-ish% move. But again, pending that confirmation. So yeah, the setup's there. I think you're thinking in the right direction. I really love when you come with these, when you come with these sort of, it's like terrible thing to say to a girl. Yeah, you're coming with these sort of things. But you know what I mean? When you come to these live streams with these amazing charts, because, honestly, there's probably a lot of money to be made on shorting shitcoins, especially the ones that have never-ending downtrends like this. But the backer of it, I have a lot of respect for him. So I don't know. There might be easier opportunities abound. Generally, these shit coins are going to put in these sort of popcorn rallies all at the same time anyway. So I'm curious to see if you have actually any other suggestions. But until then, I'll actually go back to the actual analysis of the day. Let me get my notes out and flying around over here. And first things first, I want to go back to the Reverend Ribbons indicator. Again, until we get that FOMC event later today, I don't want to be making any like major calls. We can go over major areas of action effectively. You know, what are invalidations? What are points of continuations here? And it's similar to yesterday. It's slightly different, but similar to yesterday. We can see the Reverend Ribbons midband is coming in where? It's coming in 66,800 now. Yesterday it was slightly higher. But if Bitcoin can remain, or not remain, but actually close above there today, I would be looking for a decent move to the upside, probably with a 7 handle, a low 7 handle. And at that point, I will personally have to reconsider my current short call spread position, as I might want to actually cover that. It probably does sell off on the first first pass of 70,500 or so. But fair enough, that would be a potential point of action for myself. And more or less, if it does reclaim that today, yeah, I think you got another like what, 3,000, maybe even $4,000 move to the upside. Technically speaking, on the revenue ribbons indicator, if it reclaims that area, technically it actually would be forecasting a short-term target into the blue box territory right here, which is actually crawling down below 74,000 bucks. So, a lot can be predicated upon that. But again, it is absolutely required to close above the mid band for that to even be relevant here, throughout the next couple of weeks, probably going into the end of this month. Until then, if the trend is still our friend, which it certainly has been, and we have gotten, a nice rejection on the first pass of that mid band, which was expected from yesterday's video. On the other side, if Bitcoin does reject here today and you see some, just something that's just not interpreted well by the market based off, the later event, I'd be looking somewhere down around these gray dots here, which is currently coalescing around about 63,000 bucks. So that would be sort of a short-term target for Thursday, Friday, whatever, probably one of those days you see Bitcoin make its way down there. But until then, the trend is your friend. And if I'm just going off of the revenue ribbons, I would actually be looking for a rejection right here. Again, not 100% guarantee, but that is in alignment with the trend. So I'm always going to favor that personally. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Now, I want to call out something that is actually rather important over here. If we go to the central command interface here, which again, all of this stuff is free. They even have AI trading agents that you can set up for yourself. It requires no coding knowledge. You literally just type in whatever strategy you want it to play out. You tell it how to enter, how to exit in plain English, and it will do that for you. There's a whole free course on that. Actually linked it in the what's it called, in the comment section. It'll be the pinned comment there. We can see that we actually do have negative funding rates now. So we've seen the funding rates go from pretty positive around the top of this rally at 80,000 bucks, which have remained positive pretty much the whole way down, which has also helped maintain our bearish bias in the short and medium term on this channel. But we've seen it trend down now over the past week and a half to 2 weeks. So now we're even getting negative funding rates. So there is a real potential for Bitcoin to reclaim that mid-band and initiate a move up somewhere around 70,000 bucks. I do think 70,000 would also be rejected on the first pass, but it could just pop back down a couple thousand bucks, put in a higher low, and then try again to the upside, to be fair. But as it stands right now, yeah, this is changing the underlying market dynamics in the background. So I really, while we're still far away from confirming the current lows of June as potentially the next macro low, we're starting to get more and more supporting evidence that that is not just a possibility, but it's becoming slightly more likely as things go on. Now, even if the low of June is more or less the low, again, it could definitely wick a little bit lower, but even if it is, I don't think Bitcoin's going to be putting in like any major move to the upside anytime soon, honestly. I'm going to say major move to the upside. The move that really matters here for Bitcoin is this. The second that Bitcoin reclaims the May highs of 82 or 83,000 bucks, whatever the fuck it was, I forget. I guess it's like slightly under 83. I would be happy to say, it's not necessarily like a bull market on, like straight moon mode from there. But at that point, I would confirm whatever lows that we've already seen, they are in, and any pullbacks that we get are for buying, even for swing trades on Bitcoin, not just for potentially long-term investments. But as we stand here, we're starting to see something that are we starting to see something that I'm waiting for? We might be seeing what I've been waiting for. The next big signal that I'm really waiting for on Bitcoin as well to potentially lean into that macro low call is I want to see the weekly BBWP get a down tick. Right now it is, I think it's flat from last week to this week. Yeah, last week was 91. This week is also 91. So it's literally flat. The second that we start to see a downwards tick, I will be looking for a much greater rally on Bitcoin as volatility once again goes into a contraction phase. That would be a really, 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 really strong signal for me. Again, it doesn't mean Bitcoin goes straight fucking, moon mode from here, but it does imply that Bitcoin, probably has, it's starting to put in like a real low signature indications. Now, while we are here on the weekly, I should just again call out there is regular bullish divergence building here. So, that's also definitely on the Bulaw side. but I would need to see that plus volatility contracting. That's what kind of initiates a setup for higher for me going into the back half of, or I mean, we're in the back half, but going into the end of June and early July, something like that. So yeah, we can see the wheels turning in the backgrounds. Of course, when we go over here to stochastic momentum, weekly momentum is still to the downside, but remember, it's going to come into contact with this regression in about 2 periods. I would imagine maybe 3 at most. So again, late June, early July, and these have governed the lows from December of last year, where Bitcoin got a major bounce up. This was a bounce from about 80,000 all the way up to 98,000 bucks, so a 21.5% bounce, and then again connected with the lows right here from March, and that was also about a 28% bounce. So if it does come into contact with that regression yet again, just another thing that tells me, hey, I'm really starting to lean into this being the low. So basically what I'm trying to say is the longer that Bitcoin spins its wheels here without really breaking down below the June lows, that's going to start to look good if Bitcoin can hold these numbers in early July. So we're only like 3-ish weeks away from that right now. Again, not confirmed. It's just we haven't completely invalidated that sort of scenarios, and I really like that scenario going forwards, because it really does seem like the majority of this market is, or market participants, or especially like the YouTubers and Twitter people, they're all convinced 4-year cycle and Bitcoin must go down to 50,000, 40,000, whatever. These things are possible, obviously. But, if you do want to be contrarian, the contrarian call right now is to be looking at this as a low for sure. On top of this, I do want to also go over the daily. Daily is still showing upside. So there is real breakout potential here. Now that I recognize it, though, there is a regression coming in from these last few highs, and Bitcoin, the daily stochastic oscillator will be hitting that on today. So yeah. This is basically the precipice of where you'd be expecting the next sort of breakout to be coming from if it's going to continue. Also, that's your point of greatest potential failure for a rejection here. You are quite literally at that level. So this is a 50-50 sort of call, probably going to be driven by the event later today, to be fair. And then, of course, I want to go over to the monthly HPDR over here. Shout out to Caretaker on this one. Once again, finding a major low in that 61.8 level. And more importantly, if we see Bitcoin finish out the month, like I said, around here, that's going to start to look pretty damn good. We're going to pull all of these ranges down. That's going to start to really look like a major low being formed. I mean, that's kind of what happened over here in 2022 and also in 2018 as well. I mean, less so. There's just not as much data, but you get the idea. So again, the setup is certainly there. It's not necessarily validated just yet, but it is absolutely there. So I do think that the people who are 100% convinced that Bitcoin is going lower are, I think they're just being too dogmatic about things. But hey, that's why we have markets, man. I'm glad that people disagree. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what I think, doesn't matter what someone else thinks. Price action going to do what price action is going to do, and all we have to do is just respond to that. Anyways, I do want to give a quick shout out in just a moment here. Let me take a sip of this. Oh, and also let's go over traditional markets here too. Traditional market SPY. Look, overall, I'm still very bullish on this, but I do think in the short term, based off of the event a little bit later today, we might see a gap fill here at about 7,500 bucks. That should be a bounce. And probably is going to be the next higher low, assuming that there's just not like a fucking dastardly, result from today's later events. So again, somewhere around 7,500 to 7,450-ish region, I'd be looking for on a pullback, like a quick spike down and then perhaps back up is essentially what I'd be looking for right there. Anyways, a quick shout out to actually, it's like one of the few times, there are 2 sponsors that I'm taking on right now. Paying those fucking bills, man. No, I'm actually just buying more guns with it, to be honest with you. I have a Scar sitting next to me. I just bought a lever action because I've been watching Fallout, and the main baddie there, the ghoul, he has this fucking badass lever action. So I want to be like him. So I'm gonna buy one, and that makes me exactly like him. All you need to do is just buy it and just spend the money. But yeah, anyways, if and I really want to call this out for the people who maybe you're from an economically disadvantaged country, or maybe you're in an economically disadvantaged situation. This is a real opportunity for you, because the sponsor in the link description below for Bitfunded right here is actually having a pretty damn cool promotion going on. And the promotion is this. For the first 100 people who sign up via that link, you will actually get a free $5,000 funded account. Again, I would humbly implore anyone who is considering this, please allow the people who, if you're in a good financial situation, please don't use this. Like, allow, the people who perhaps are less so, especially from other parts of the world, get into this, because it is free, and it is your opportunity basically to start an actual account without any real financial risk. And look, if you have a real trading strategy and you know that it works, you've done the actual homework, you've really done your portion of the work, but you just lack funds, these are great opportunities. Obviously, if you're just going to use it to gamble, then fuck you. Honestly, you're just wasting your time, and you're wasting the opportunity for other people as well. But anyways, I would also say, look, if you're going to get into this and you are not necessarily sure about your strategy, definitely check out the TA 101 course. It's free. It's linked in the description below as well. It's also the pinned comment, I believe, here too. So that'll give you a framework to be going off of, and you can even extrapolate that into several of the other free courses as well. But yes, for the first 100 people, you use that link, you get a free $5,000 funded account. And if you build that up, you build that up, man. So I'd really, 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 really hope, and what I pray to see, and what I absolutely love to see, is I love to hear these stories about people who come from humble beginnings and they make it, they win. And that could be an opportunity for that sort of person. So I really, really hope to see stories like that, because I know, just because you don't have, as big of a trading count as someone else doesn't necessarily mean that you're not as educated, or you don't have as good of a strategy. So hopefully the right person gets into that, and I want to see some success stories there, because that would just be super fucking cool, and also be very fulfilling for me, just as a selfish sort of ego thing. Anyways, cool. All right, so we've gone through all of that. Let's get through some of these super chats here. We already went through Lutfi, as always, calling out some of the best. Well, could be a good one, although I do have a little bit of an issue with the with one of the investors there, just because he usually doesn't lose, to be fair. Anyways, Pizza is going to be next. He's looking at XRP 4 on daily as usual. Let's call it up over here. Where's my XR derp? Yes, there we go. Again, gonna ride or die with today's later event, but I do want to call out something for this. It does kind of make sense for it to reject here. Similar to Bitcoin, so far it has rejected that red 5 EMA in the exact same way that Bitcoin has too, not necessarily on the weekly, but on the 5-day, perfectly kind of getting up in there, and so far backing off. But if you go back down to XRP and just look primarily at XRP for the timeframes that you did ask about, the 4-hour time frame, you have a very obvious and clear range here. The 200 simple is governing your highs, which is 126, and basically this morning's low at 118.80 is governing your lows. And whichever way that things break first is where I'd be expecting the next major direction. To the downside, if you break there, I would be looking for a move back down around these lows. 110 to 113 is very, very likely, and this one easily could put in new lows. Sorry, maybe not necessarily new lows. It's already got down to like 105, but somewhere around about $1 is where I'd be looking for overall, because that move definitely could take it down. Now, on the other side, if XRP could reclaim that 200 simple at 126, I do think that you get a pretty sizable move up to these previous highs at like 135, 140-ish region, as the daily and the weekly start to take over at that point. But here's the thing. On the daily time frame, so far as a rejection on the green 55 EMA, we expect lower highs around that region. You also do naturally have hidden bearish divergence developing here, because the RSI is higher than your 29th of May highs when it was trading at that 134, 135 number. So look, it might retest the green 55 EMA again, which is also your 4-hour 200 simple, but I'd be very cognizant that if you see a rejection there, your 4-hour bleeds into the daily, which bleeds into the weekly. Ultimately, you probably see this thing back down around about $1.05, something like that. So if I had to call it, look, I don't think this is like the best chart long term. Again, in terms of investment, I really don't like this thing. But hey, there's always a chance, right? There's always a chance. And again, that chance would certainly be predicated upon this one's ability to reclaim more or less the Monday high. So 126 to 128, depending upon your time frame. Anyways, we'll go with Do It Wit next. He's looking at Tesla. Okay, Tesla over here. Where is my Tesla derp? Oh, it's on my other thingy. Okay, there we go. There's my Tesla back around $400. This one's flippy floppy, and honestly, this one's been kind of a difficult one for me. I do have to, again, personally, oh, you're just on a daily. Okay, let me go down to the daily. Look, on the daily, I do have to be short-term bearish on this one. Why? You're in a short-term downtrend. High, low, lower high, lower low. Could this be the next lower high? That's, on the 200 symbol, that's kind of where you expect it to be. And where would I be targeting on a continuation move to the downside? 370. And to be fair, this one did fail our weekly pivot from a couple weeks ago. So, I've kind of had to maintain a bearish bias on this one, even though I don't really like to maintain a bearish bias on this one. To be fair, it did hit the 380 target, so that's already been satisfied. What do I really think is going to happen here? What I really think is going to happen here is you're going to have like a short-term downside move, you hold it, and then you rally back up. That's what I think is going to happen personally. But look, my opinion is fucking irrelevant. But yeah, short-term, it is hard to ignore this one right here. What would confirm a short-term reversal? It's actually pretty simple. Any sort of a reclamation of 418 on a daily closing basis, I would say lows are in, get ready for some upside. Until then, I'm going to say the trend is your friend because that is the ultimate truth. Anyways, yeah, so we got that one. Cool. Let's go to Stefan Milicevic. Been a while, man. Hope all is well. Looking at Netflix, weekly, monthly. Any general areas that could be a good base for reversal or buying opportunity long term? I don't know. I don't think we've looked at this one in a while, actually. Good areas for reversal. Well, daily's pretty fucking ugly. You're already at that gap fill. You had a chance to bounce it yesterday. It's already back down around those lows. That's not a good sign. Weekly's ugly as hell. My LARP lines, I think, are still holding true here. I'd probably be expecting another bounce attempt around that previous low at $75. Do I think it's really going to hold there when you're so close to that weekly 200 simple? I think you probably hit the 200 simple at least, and that's about $70 even. So it's 10% down from here. And I would be looking for a big bounce there. Maybe it's going to be the low. I never hate buying the 200 simple on the weekly time frame if I want to just hold this thing long term. It's also going to be your green 55 EMA on the monthly. So, all of these things considered, I'd be expecting at least a big bounce there, potential for the next major macro low. If you just want to own the stock, I'm never going to hate that area. I think it's, a good value area, but if it fails, I mean, this thing's going much further down. So yeah, I mean, that's also your previous macro top in 2021 as well. So a lot of things around that region. I think if you're going to put on risk, that makes a lot of sense. But if you lose that area, it is a fucking disastrous situation, to be honest, man. What does a quarterly look like? Yeah, quarterly also not so hot here, but look, I totally get it. Like low 70 to 71, 72, you're almost undoubtedly going to get a bounce attempt there. It might be if there is going to be a next macro low and this thing is truly bullish, that's where it very likely come from. If it fails, it's going to get really ugly, man. Really fucking ugly. You're probably looking at like another 20% slide to the downside. So yeah, not great. Anyways, Kush Squad says ENTG breakout targets quarterly. I mean, technically it has not confirmed the breakout just yet. Look, I think it is going to do it. This is something that I've liked for a while. We've spoken about this many times on this channel now. I've said, let's see, 200 plus, man. Its first move would be like 210, 215, and probably ultimately it's very likely to go higher than that from there. But again, technically it is not broken out just yet. I think it's personally formality, but if you want to play it by the book, you'd be waiting for at least this weekly's closure, which literally just needs to close like here or higher. Anywhere above 160 will do it for me. That also means your risk is effectively this week's low at like 151. So, look, I like it. We've been speaking about it for a while. I also own it, quite a fair bit of it. So, well, typically I buy things that I think are going to go up. Obviously, but yeah, the risk is acceptable for me in this case. I really do like a 5-year long or 6-year long consolidation being resolved very likely at the end of this month. Anyways, Mr. Cowboy NZ says, GM sir, really appreciate you and your work. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. MVTS, short-term prees. NVTS, Navitas. Retesting that previous all-time macro high from 2021 on the weekly, but so it hit the 2 extension right there and sold off from that. That is expected. It was a very aggressive sell-off, though. That much of a sell-off, less expected, I would say. If you're just looking at the short term, I'd look at the daily right here. Daily's quite obvious. You have a range forming, a consolidation range forming between about $20 to the downside versus your highs of Monday to the upside. What is that? 26.17. Whichever side breaks first is going to be your next major direction, most likely, or extremely likely, I should say. If I had to call it, it probably holds that range and probably does rally from here. But yeah, that's a pretty aggressive sell-off, to be fair. So Look, if it breaks below the bottom side of that range, again, $20 basically, I think that this thing falls apart in a disastrous way. You know, you're looking at another 25% move to the downside from there, maybe more. Pretty fucking ugly if that happens, man. Anyways, I'll take another sippy sip of this. Oh, amazing. Amazing. All right. Let's see. Mr. Cowboy NZ says, GM, sir, really? Oh, no. I just read that. Yarbrook. Yay. What's up, man? What? What? The what? The what chart? The what chart? The what? The what chart? What? It's Water Corporation. What? Let's see. What time frame are we going on here, man? Monthly. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like this one. I actually like this one quite a fair bit. I see this as a retest of the Red 5 EMA after putting in the third higher low in a series of higher lows and a long-term macro uptrend. This is great, man. I don't think it's going to be like a tremendously massive, humongous winner, but it is, you know, I think it's a pretty damn good bet. Actually, this is something that I'm gonna add to my own list. Hold on. I like this, man. That's why I love these live streams. My what chart? I don't think it's necessarily ready to break out like today or this month, but it is setting up for a breakout. I would imagine Q3, Q4 of this year. It's sluggish here, but it's been consolidating since what, 2021. This is really, really good. A series of higher lows. The bias absolutely is on an upside breakout, but it's still kind of far away as far as your confirmation of breakout. It needs to close above 415. At that point, you know, just kind of eyeballing targets here. It's going to go 550 plus most likely. Of course, I could get very bearish on this if it were to come back down below about $300. You know, as always, you need validation. But for this, I quite like this. But yeah, long term, I do. You know, I'd certainly be biased on continuation. It's health technology. All right, cool. Whatever it is good. So yeah, literally a 30-year history of going pretty much up only. So that's what we like. That's what we like. Do It With is back. He's looking at AVGO. This is Broadcom. Okay, Broadcom right here. Don't like this one as much, especially if the monthly closes anywhere below 390. That would look really ugly to me. Even below last month's low of 404 is going to be a bearish engulfing dildo on bearish divergence here too. 1, 2, 3, 4 drives. At that point, I'd have to be looking for a move back down to 315. This would not be my pick, man. I would, however, invalidate these statements and say, hey, I guess it's still bullish if it were to finish out this month specifically above 415. If it can do that, I think that you got some new highs in summer. But until then, I mean, look, generally, I think you're trying to squeeze water from a rock here. Even if it does have new highs in summers, I don't think it's going to be that much more. This thing is mostly topped. So what are you going to do? Like squeeze out another fucking maybe 10% move if you're lucky? And realistically, you're getting so many bearish signals here. There's easier charts, man. There are significantly easier charts. But yeah, if you're just on the daily, I do think it does have a rally from here on the daily, probably back to like 420, 425. But it only depends where it finishes on the monthly. But yeah, above 415, I don't really have a reason to be bearish on it, I guess. So there's that. I guess it's possible, you know, especially with the daily setting up for a short-term rally attempt. Hopefully it holds into end of month for your sake, though. Yorbrooks is back. He's looking at BRK. This is Berkshire. Let's see. How's this one doing after the old Warren has left? Really good. Really good. I love this setup. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, just continues to put in drives of hidden bullish efforts on caretakers RSI. Only needs to finish out this month above effectively last month's high of whatever that ungodly number is, 731,000. Yes. And at that point, I'm looking for a retest of the previous highs, and you're probably just carrying on with the general macro rally. However, if it fails to do that, it's not necessarily the end of the world. The end of the world for this thing is coming back down below last week's low. Okay, maybe not now, last week's low for end of world, but certainly coming back down below June lows of 702,500. At that point, I'd call a top for a very long time, and I'd be getting ready for a move down to, you know, 630, 650-ish region, somewhere down around here would be extremely likely. So we're talking like 10, 15% move at that point, which is big for these sort of things. But for now, I'd still remain bullishly biased based off those signals. Volatility is very low here. So I think that you are looking for this move to occur probably next quarter. I think it's very mature there. Mr. Cowboy NZ, me again. What's up, man? Let's see. Short term for Oracle. Okay, got a lot from Cowboy NZ. All right, we'll do Oracle first. Short term specifically, I'll just go down to a daily for this, and my LARP lines have this one continuing with the range. When you get a rejection like this right here, yeah, in the short term you might rally back up to like 201, but I don't think it's going to like run away to the upside or anything like that. I think that generally you hold this range, you're going to get another test down to like 160 in the next month or two. Still would be good as long as it holds about 140 long term, but what I'm really looking for here is a long-term range to kind of evolve, and it probably takes, I think it's going to take most of this year to consolidate this move. So very short term, if you're literally just focused on that, maybe a short-term rally attempt to like 200, if that. But ultimately, I do think whatever rally you're going to get here is going to fail, and it does head lower. Just it's not breaking down. It's just consolidating on the macro scale for probably a long time. I mean, shit, this thing, was a amazing mover here for the last for the last 10 years basically, but especially in the past few years. So yeah, I have to kind of respect that. I'd be betting on range continuing sideways, not anything resembling a breakout. Anyways, Ondas, ONDS. Yeah, another similar one right here. I think that this one's already kind of seen its rally, and I think that it is getting ready for, is this another short-term one? In the short term, again, you could easily have a rally back up to like 10, 10 and a half, $11, and probably does. I don't really like shorting into or getting bearish into the 200 simple, but at some point, look, do I think that this thing's mostly done here? Probably yes, and I do think at some point you get another move down to about $8 or eight and a quarter at least. The weekly starting to switch around into certainly a corrective posture. So I think at best you're going to be going sideways, and personally, I think that this thing's topped here. Although we do not have bearish divergence yet on the monthly, so fair enough. But quarterly, again, like easier charts abound for sure. If you're just focused on the short term, yeah, I think you got a rally here, but I don't expect that rally to like do anything spectacular to the upside. I think it's going to fail, and you head a little bit lower, and ultimately taking more or less kind of putting in a major top there. Anyways, 1 second, I'll get to the rest of yours. All right, last two, please. Red Wave, RDW. Let me bring it up first. Where's my Red Wave? Right there. Okay, nice. Lost 14 and a half. Short term, you read more downside, or you are asking if I read more downside in the short term, unless if it reclaims again today, which actually, look, based upon today's later event, it very well could. A quick break and then a reclaim on the next, on the next candle, on the next period. I don't really consider that a break. But for right now, there kind of are some decent signals here. Daily time frame does have some hidden bullish evidence developing. If it can finish the day out here or higher, it also reclaim that green 55 EMA. So I would say that would just be a quick break and then back up. But yeah, overall, look, I still like this one, and it didn't break the $14.50 number on the weekly, which is where this call was made from. The daily time frame obviously did close below there, but a quick close below and then reclaiming it, and then obviously not, violating the weekly closure. I don't look at that as a break, man. I look at that as just probably the next higher low. Let's see. Yeah, again, monthly, it's like pretty much has to hold here. Like, yeah, yesterday's low absolutely must be the low if this thing is going to end up being bullish, and that's just like a quick sort of, if you want to call it a bear trap, I think that that's appropriate in this case. But for right now, I'd give it the benefit of the doubt personally. And it's really about the weekly closure here. So if Friday it's below 1450, okay, yeah, throw it away, I guess. But for now, I think it's okay, actually. I wouldn't count it out just yet. If the weekly does finish below there, however, I would be looking for a nice move to the downside around $10.50 to $11, to be fair. And then Fly, what is Fly? Whoops, I should maybe be able to spell it properly. Is this, hopefully it's this thing. Again, a lot of these charts you've put out kind of look the same. They seem to have mostly played out their rallies, except for Red Wave. Red Wave's the only one that I think, may not have just yet. Fly, weird one. Again, same thing. I don't like getting bearish straight into the daily 200 simple or any 200 simple for any time frame realistically. But when I look at the weekly, look, if you get another rally here, I think you might get up to like 41, 42 region, but I'm looking for rejection. I think that this thing is mostly topped out as well. So if I were to draw out the LARP lines here, you probably get another pity rally off of the 200 simple there, top out, what was it, like 41, 42, something around there, and then back down. You can kind of see a head and shoulders forming here. So it's like, do you want to play a move like that? I don't know. That's up to you, obviously. But for me, that wouldn't be it. Love the options videos from 7 years ago. Hell yeah, man. I'm glad that I'm glad that people are still watching those. They definitely do show their age in terms of like my presentation and everything. But the underlying information, the fundamental information is still the same. Yeah, this one actually I got, was I calling for breakdown there, or was I saying that's a breakdown target if it does break down? Either which way, that would still be my target over here if it does break down, actually. Down to like 22, and probably where it is going overall. Yeah, monthly over here, very ugly to me. Very fucking ugly. Closing the monthly out anywhere below even $34, I think, is sending this thing back. I just think that is top for a long time if that happens. And you're coming back down to like a $20 number or so. Yeah. Okay, cool. And thank you for that, man. Another sippy sip of this. Sally Eric Krona. Don't know what that means, but hopefully it's not saying anything like super bad. Okay. We are just peasants in Japan's world. Yeah, I know, man. I know. We are just little peasants. Maybe the Japanese should have won World War II. Maybe. I mean, look, those are not the same Japanese, to be fair. Like, those motherfuckers were some real savages. Like, if you read what is it? It's unit something rather. It's like unit 11 something. What they did to prisoners of war and shit. Like, it's like, look, the Nazis were some bad motherfuckers, but those Japanese, like, they did way worse shit, at least in my opinion. And the fucking rape of Nanking as well. Like, goddamn, man. Whoa. You better have a real strong stomach to read some of that shit. It is harrowing. I don't know why I have an obsession with reading about this shit. I for whatever reason, I read about all of these sort of just terrible, terrible events in history, and I have an obsession with it, even though sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and like sweating and haunts me. But yeah, man, for whatever reason, I just want to know. Anyways, 6966 says, I freak out if my stock isn't moving with index, like with the major indices. Well, that certainly is an issue if the index is going up, which I'm guessing if you're talking about SPY, then it has been. So yeah, generally not a good sign. Generally, not, it just means that your stock isn't one of the leaders. It's not a part of the thing that's getting rotated at the current moment. Obviously not a good sign, but I don't really know where you want to go with that one, but just a statement. Fair enough. All good. Angie Plus says QCOM on the daily. Gotcha, man. So this is Qualcomm, ancient stock. And actually, I think it's still okay here. At least, look, if it finishes out the month below $200, I think it's wrecked for a very long time. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 drops of bearish evidence on the monthly plus extreme volatility. And, it's probably going to fall apart down to like 150, 160. So, 20 to 25% move to the downside if that happens. But until then, I would give it the benefit of the doubt, again, as long as you are above $200, because the quarterly has hidden bullish evidence right here. It is still an overall uptrend, and the 6-month time frame also decent as well. I think that these things could go for another quarter, but this one, like a lot of the semiconductors, like a lot of the computer-related sort of shit that has been going moon mode recently, I think you're looking at tops between July and September, more or less. So this one completely depends upon its ability to remain above basically yesterday's low, or sorry, last week's low. Not yesterday's low, but last week's low. As long as it's above there, still favor the upside below there. I call a mega massive toppity top. Like look out below. It's going to be bad, but quarterly for right now has a bullish engulfing. I'm never going to hate that, especially on a higher time frame then. Half-Baked Butternut says, you became gay then? No, having sex with other men is not gay. I've already told you this. Anyways, Andreas Palm says, good day, sir. What's your take on ADBE? Is this Adobe? Is this... How's it? This cannot be a thing anymore with AI, right? Yeah, exactly. Terrible. Just god awful, man. God, fucking send this one to the grave. Send this one to Hades. Look, if you're looking for a pity bounce, this is not the worst area. 6-month time frame, 55 EMA, probably going to get a bounce somewhere around here. Then again, I look at the weekly and maybe it comes down to like 200 first and then tries for that bounce. But look, whatever the bounce is, it doesn't matter. This thing is garbage, absolute fucking garbage. The monthly is also working on a bearish engulfing as well. I think best case scenario, you come down to like $185 to $200 region. You try a pity bounce. Maybe it puts in a lower high inevitably. This is terrible. Just god awful, man. Very bad. Very, very bad. Among the worst charts we've seen today. But again, if you're trying to play a bounce, I think maybe another like 10% move to the downside, and then you're probably in bounce territory. But look, you're catching a falling knife. So there's always going to be easier charts to play than something like this. When you try to catch a falling knife, at some point that knife is just going to go right fucking through you. So I just don't think it's a good idea. Personally, I don't like doing that sort of stuff, especially with shit like this. But if I did have to call it, I think you probably got one more downside slide and then you're in for a pity bounce, and whatever the bounce is, it's gonna fail almost undoubtedly. Anyways, Dead Reckoning says, morning Crown, can I get your opinion on CLSK? You can. Might have a terrible opinion though. Not bad here actually at all. Yeah, I remember you've called this one out, or someone's called this one out like a lot in the past year. I've been kind of looking for this thing to go sideways and then try another upside move. My LARP lines are maybe a little bit too anemic there, but ultimately same thing. I don't want to say I necessarily like it here, but I do think this one is going to once again test the top side of the range at 22, 23 bucks. Sorry, yeah, about 21 to $23, somewhere in that pocket there. I would treat it in the short term bullish as long as it's above about $15, with likely targets back up around those low $20 numbers. Quarterly, also decent as well. This one does not have a bullish engulfing, but shit, even finishing anywhere above like $17 is going to be looked at as quite good, at least by me, coming into the end of this month with targets back up towards those, mid to low 20s actually, because the quarterly does have a series of higher lows in here. So might be an early reversal in the making, but again, I really don't like calling reversals on something that's only been down only until you really get that full confirmation. Just, they can fail at a moment's notice, right? But yeah, as far as weekly goes, bullish as long as you're above last week's low, $15 basically, and generally it's all about the monthly and quarterly here. I think that this thing more or less retests these highs from the last couple of years. And potential to reverse, but I wouldn't be calling on the first pass at least. Have you tried Crimson Desert yet? Says Ben Steer. I haven't, man. I can't get into RPGs. I just can't, because I negate all of the other responsibilities of my life and I live for my fucking fake character on screen. I can't do it, man. When I was in high school, I got into World of Warcraft because that was like when it was like OG WoW, like back during when you do like Molten Core raids and BWL? Blackwing Lair, yeah. And then what was the other one? AQ? I forget what that one stands for. But yeah, man, look, I remember I would play that thing religiously, like all day, all night. And then one day I found out about you could actually check how much time you played. And I checked. And I was so disgusted with myself that I quit right then and there. It was pathetic. Within like a year or two of playing the game, I think I had like 150 days played. Okay, let me remind you, 150 days is 150 times 24 fucking hours. Yeah, man, I have an addictive personality and I can't do it. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. Anyways, all right, cool. What do you think about the mega bear? I mean, I think you're going to believe in fucking ghosts if you want to believe in ghosts. And if you want to believe in that sort of stuff, there's going to be plenty of people on the YouTubes and on the social medias that'll tell you what you want to hear. I think people subscribe to these sort of beliefs regardless of the information in the background. Believe me, I could easily get bearish on markets, but I need to see proof of it first before I just blindly say that. I think that all of those opinions are just completely fucking worthless, and people are preying upon other people's. They're not even necessarily preying upon other people's, fears and whatnot. They probably truly believe some shit like that. It's just their opinion doesn't matter. The opinion just doesn't matter. Price going to do what price going to do. If you're looking at a fucking up only trend and then you're saying it's going to be a down only market, like a generational bear. Like, just shut up. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that these people have communities and shit like that. But hey, that's why we have markets, man. That's why we got markets. So people can disagree. And again, who knows? I might be wrong. But like I said, I can definitely get bearish on markets, but I need to see proof of fucking bearishness first. Anyways, G Kai says, hey, Krown, for your LTI BTC macro settings, do you have PMARP and Pesto FNG on or off? The LTI course will show you exactly what my settings are. I won't go through them on this video, but I literally show you exactly what my settings are for that. And I believe the answer is yes. But I will literally show you the exact settings in the LTI program. There is a module that says Krown's macro Bitcoin low settings, and it's been the same. It's not changing. It is exactly that. So whatever you see there is exactly what I got on for that. I'm glad that you're finding a lot of value in it. But yeah, man, just literally copy those settings. It'll show you exactly what I'm looking at. Barry Wood says Nux, NUKZ. I don't know. Range nuclear renaissance. Nice. I like the narrative. Yeah, I like it. 1, 2, 3 higher lows right here. Same highs over here. The bias is absolutely on an upside breakout. You're back above all major moving averages. You have hidden bullish divergence on all these major lows on the weekly. Probably ready to go back up towards these highs, man. And really good to see this happening around the end of the month too. I'm very bullish on this thing as long as you're above last week's low. This is an investment trust or a mutual fund. I think your biggest issue there is just dealing with like potentially predatory management fees. But overall, do I think it's going up from here? Yeah. There's no reason to be bearish on this thing at all whatsoever as long as you're above last week's low. Quarterly here, getting a little bit exaggerated for sure. But look, if this thing breaks the highs, which effectively just needs to close above $75, I think you're going to see a move somewhere around about 85 to 90 from there, something like that. Again, invalidation at last week's low, but super easy setup right there. Yeah, I love setups like that. Not because they're guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, obviously, but yeah, it's just super easy to play. Your invalidations are very, very clear cut. You know exactly where to take action. Until then, the bias is bullish. Yeah, it's unit 731. My apologies, okay. It's not unit 11 whatever. Yeah, it's unit 731. Yeah, man, dude. You want to read about some fucking dark times in history, like, goddamn, man. The things they did are, I won't repeat them on this stream. It's very bad. It's very fucking bad. Probably bad enough to get like canceled by YouTube, I'd imagine. Okay, I just want to make sure that I hit all of these super chats here. Yeah, I think we're doing good there, good there. Yeah, by the way, the FOMC is coming up in about 30 minutes. But it doesn't really it's not that it doesn't matter for like the FOMC decision, but it's really all about the conference call afterwards, which happens 30 minutes after that. Anyways, David Murphy says, hey, Krown, what's up? QUBT. I think we looked at this one. No, maybe it's a different one. Yeah, we looked at this one not earlier today, but on Monday. So that's fine. Anyways, look, I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's not an obvious chart to me. I think that you can play it bullishly. It makes sense to play it bullishly as long as you're above about 880, which is last month's low. But it absolutely must hold above there. Otherwise, I do think that this one does break down. The problem with this thing is the long-term history. The short-term, there is potential for a reversal here. You do have some higher lows here on the monthly. I do like that, obviously. But it must hold where it's at right now, effectively. Just really not going below even last week's low is going to be bad enough, to be honest with you. At that point, I'd be expecting, those $6.5 lows to be retested again. But until then, if you want to play this, like I get it. I understand the setup. I think it's valid setup. I personally don't like taking these ones, but it is a valid setup for sure because you potentially are front running what would be a tremendously massive reversal. So your risk, again, 880, is that acceptable to you at a 10-20 number? It's about 20%, or around 15 to 20%. So kind of a lot of risk, but with a small position, I mean, your returns could be massive because if it does hold, your next target is $20 plus. I mean, shit, you might even get a real reversal, in which case, you got to move up to like fucking 35, 40. So, 4x from here. realistically. But yeah, like forgive me for not, believing in a chart that looks like this. I just see these things fail so often despite the setup. But yeah, it is a valid setup. So look, I don't think it's not necessarily a bad trading decision to take. It's just personally, I would not. Encrypted Broker says, hey, Krown, I sold my hype position when it was around 75 last week and then was waiting for a dip to 40s. Unfortunately, I missed it. Went to 52 and then bounced. Do you think I will get a chance to buy hype again in the 50s in the coming months? I think just off the top of my head, if you do, I probably wouldn't take that trade. Because I think if it just off the top of my head, if it comes back down there, it's probably failing at that point. Like basically what I'm saying is this is the move. But let's see. This is just going off of memory. Yeah, I would still say the same thing. Look, if it comes back down to $50 from here, I think you're buying the reversal, which is not going to really go in your favor. Basically, that was the move. Now, we were bearish on this one coming into the beginning of June, and it did have that nice downside move, and it hit almost precisely our target at 50 to 55. Actually, no, it did. It got down to 52, 53. So nice. And then back up. So, I would have to say, man, if it comes back down, especially to like 55-ish, I think you're buying a confirmation of the reversal on this thing. And you're just going to, you're going to get caught in like the start of a major downtrend, which would not be great, obviously. But for right now, I think that this thing is still bullish here. But like many things that have been rallying, like many things that have been rallying, I do think that this thing puts in like some major highs this summer. But for right now, I mean, gotta respect this, man. Or at least I have to respect it. You can do what the fuck you want to do, right? But if you want another buying opportunity into a continuation of this trend, I would say the best you're going to get. Look, we are making an assumption that is going to continue to be bullish from here, and if it is, best case scenarios for like pullbacks would be your weekly 5 EMA. So that's going to be currently $65. It's already hit that for this week. Next week it'll crawl up. I don't know. I'd imagine probably like, let's see how much it's rising right now. Maybe like another $5 to $70 or so. But then your risk starts to get greater and greater because if it actually reverses from there, then you're going to take a pretty nasty loss before it really confirms it. So it's kind of a hard situation right here. Look, if I'm in your position, I think to myself, it's like, oh, I missed it. All right, fine, whatever. On to the next one. Look for the next obvious setup because, I think if you chase this one, you're kind of just you're kind of falling in love with the asset in a way. But would I be biased towards more upside here? Yes, I would be. Bi-weekly chart is it might even close a bullish engulfing, and if it does, I mean, I think this thing's probably heading up to, $90, $100, whatever. But that would require it to close this week above 75 or $76, which is kind of around right now. Sorry, it'd be like $76 to be fair. So yeah, it is there. And for now, it remains to be bullish. And I do think that it does go higher. But start to chase in these regions, I think it's just kind of like bad do long-term, trading like that. But hey, that's just me, man. GHTRE Mezzo says SDR on ASXK. It's a new one, I think, at least. Schrodinger's PLC. Nope, wrong one. SiteMinder. Okay. Cool name, I guess. Bad chart. What time frame are we looking at on it? Do I think it's reversed? On the daily, yes, but on time frames that really matter, no, not yet. Like when someone says reverse to me, I assume like a major macro uptrend. No, that has absolutely not happened yet. In fact, I do think it probably tries more on this upside move, maybe back up to like $4.80 to $5. But I think that's kind of where you'd be expecting on a rejection. It just made macro new lows here, man. Like that's not a good sign. So the bias has to be on a lower high forming somewhere around that $5 range, give or take a little bit from it. And then you probably get your next real push to the downside. So yeah, if I had to call it, I do think it goes up a little bit more from here, but unless you're talking about like a daily swing, I would say no. I do think you have upside on the daily. I think it will get to like $5 plus, but if this thing's realistically still below like 5.5, I would treat it still bearishly, because objectively it is. So yeah, man. Oh man. Okay, great. Andrew Plus says CRWV, CoreWeave. Nice. We've seen this one many a time in the past. CoreWeave, CoreDerp. Yeah, not bad here. Looks like on the monthly and weekly holding it as well. I think that this one is going to pull through, and these are kind of the right conditions and environment for it to do such as well. So, yeah, man. Look, I'll treat this one as a reversal in progress as long as it's above last week's low. You got three higher lows right here. You're already around those previous highs, so. These are where reversals really can happen. It'll be confirmed if it closes above last month's high of 138.25. At that point, you're probably looking at that 160 high and, maybe beyond. Yeah, I've just treated bullishly as long as you're above last week's low, man. It's not bad at all. Daily, same thing. So yeah, big focus on that lower. You could just even say $100 as long as it's above there. I'd be bullish on it. Estonia, fuck yeah, Norco. We love Estonia. Okay. The Schwab says, have you looked at Amazon recently, daily and weekly? I have not actually. I think maybe we looked at like last week or something. Daily down, weekly down. I think it's going down. I think it's coming back down to like 230. Monthly has maybe some bigger issues. You have 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence on these last few highs. So somewhere between 230 to 220 is where I'm looking for on this downside move at least. Hopefully, for your sake, it has a big old bounce there before end of month, because if it doesn't, I would be leaning into the quarterly here, which is printing 3 drives of bearish divergence, and I'd be looking for that to come down, 180, somewhere around there in summer. Maybe it's like an end of year move. I don't know, but I would be looking for 180 if that happens. Should be a nice bounce there, maybe in the next major low, but yeah. Look, a lot of these amazing tech stocks that have been operating really, really well from before, they're just not the thing anymore. So that is kind of a sign of a tired market, to be fair. So yeah, if I had to call this one, I think it probably does come down here. And look, if it fails to have like a big bounce before end of month, and when I say big bounce, I mean like reclaiming, 245, I would treat this one as likely to come down a lot more. Yeah, tentatively like 180 to 190. Yeah. Okay. Let's read through a few more of these. Did anyone play Command and Conquer? Hell yeah, man. Crazy. Was so addicted. The thing about those games is that like at least there was like beginning and end to the game. But with fucking RPGs and MMORPGs, it's continuous for forever. Like you never get to the end. You never get to the fucking end. All right. By the way, I ignore all comments that are in all capitals, just so you know. Umbakito Loco says, going off what you were saying earlier, I want to say thank you for the content. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Been watching since mid-September. Hell yeah. Watch your old TA playlist. Fuck yeah, dude. I did the new course. Want to start paper trading soon. Nice, man. That's a really good sort of flow of doing things, man. It seems like you're taking your time. You're really trying to absorb the content and and actually put it to real use. I love hearing stuff like that, man. That's really who I make this content for the people who are going to put in the work. It's like, it can be done. It just requires a lot of work, like anything in life, man. Anything worth having in life, it's going to require a shit ton of work. So you get to decide what you want to do, man. So, I'm glad to hear feedback like that for sure. Asti wants to look at URG. Sure. Let's see. I haven't looked at it today at all. Coming back down here, this one's flippy floppy as always, but that's what you kind of expect with this thing. Look, I still would have a bullish bias as long as you're above last week's low, 147. Monthly just needs to finish above 163. Still got a couple weeks left, and it's literally right there right now. So I still think it has a chance here. I wouldn't count it out just yet, or I wouldn't count it out really until it's below last week's low. And at that point, yeah, I would count it out. But until then, I like this 1, 2, 3 higher lows, same highs. Then gets another shot at $2. Yeah, way more addictive than cocaine. Honestly, I can agree with that. I can truly agree with that. We can look at SpaceX, but I will tell you straight up, I don't have opinions on shit that is this new. I don't have any opinion on this, man. There is no announced speed on something like this. I don't think most people have an edge, and I certainly do not have an edge on something that's this new. People try to convince you that they do, but I think it's I think it's like Jesus toast sort of analysis. Like you're seeing things that ain't there because there's literally nothing there. Let's see. Red Pill Closet's looking at cores, CORZ. Okay. it's like all of the old OG coins or stonks are coming back. Well, whatever the hourly was is looking really good. Weekly still good, monthly still good. I think that this thing has new highs in summer, and I would treat it as bullish, especially as long as you're above even $26. I think you're probably poised for new highs, maybe even in the last week of this month of June. It's not bad at all. Now, if you do take out $26 to the downside, I think you're in for a big correction and probably call a top there. You know, probably come down to like 21, 22 bucks. But for now, man, let it flow to the upside. Monthly's good. Monthly's good for now, at least. A little bit newer to look at on a monthly, to be fair, but for what we have, it's not bad. It's not bad. And even the 5 days, nearly a bullish engulfing. But regardless, whether, you know, it's technically not, but even if it just closed above 28.57, which is above right now, at the end of today in 2 hours, 14 minutes, I think you're poised for new highs probably next week. Cool. 69 is in RDD. Okay. Your DCA. Okay. Macro higher lows and highs. Any good? I don't know. Oh, it's Reddit. Oh, no, that's not Reddit. Is IPO. Look, I don't see a ticker that's literally just RDD. Maybe you're talking about some random crypto shitcoin. Let's see. Nope. Thank God it's not that. Maybe it is Reddit. Can you confirm? I'm looking at the bottom of the comments right now, 69. So just let me know if it is indeed Reddit before I go ahead and analysize that. Might as well put it on the chart here. Yeah, we've already gone over ENTG. As said before, still like it. Dan Robertson says, I sold an OTM call spread on SpaceX this morning. I had it open for a whole 18 minutes and made 6% of my max profit. Yeah, close that shit. Take it in your hands. Run away. Fuck yeah, man. That's awesome. I stared at the chart like an owl the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, crazy. Still waiting on 69, 66. Just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. What's up, SDA? Good morning to you, man. Good morning to you. Need a nice stretch here. Bit fun, but funded anyone successful? I mean, I think this is the promo that they sent me, which is you just need to register using my link. So my link is in the description below. It's right here for access to trading capital. And if you register using that, first 100 users will receive a $5,000 account. All right. I don't know if 69 is going to get back to us. Feel like he would have heard this by now. I don't know. Maybe he's like caught way behind in the video. I'm going to assume that it is this thing. I don't really have a strong opinion on this. Yeah, it is higher lows, but I don't really see anything that's like super obvious to me, just yet. And I, you know, as always, I want to be like very transparent when I don't feel confident about something. I guess okay, there is one thing. If it can close above 183.5, I do think you confirm this as your next higher low, and you do see this thing popping back up to like 215, 220, probably carrying on with the macro rally. But that's the only obvious thing that I see. So it must close above 183.5 on a weekly, and at that point, I actually would be bullish on it, or just look for continuation trend. It's also the daily 200 simple. If we can claim that at 188, one of those two things will do it for me. Reddit has a chart, yeah, man. Reddit is a place that should be it should be banned. Reddit should be banned. Elsa loves Reddit, but fuck, man. The Reddit neckbeard meme is a real thing, and God, these people are so fucking insufferable. I have not seen I Have an AI Girlfriend. Oh, what do you, maybe this was a while ago. God. Okay. All right. Well, I guess he's not going to get back to us. Fuck no. Only social media network I use. I don't know, man. I don't know. Reddit's, don't have a very high opinion on it personally. God, I was watching Caleb Hammer yesterday, and there was just the fucking picture perfect, like Reddit neckbeard on there, and he was so fucking insufferable, man. Oh my God, like the casting for the Caleb Hammer show it's top notch. They just find the most insufferable people to ever exist. It's incredible. It's incredible. I love it. Anyways, Assie's looking at Perps. She says that she made 20%. Hell fucking yes. What's the range play here? I don't know. You made 20%, so that's pretty damn good. The range play. To be fair, it is kind of objectively bullish here. The range play is yesterday's high versus last week's low. So 775 versus 11. But I would be betting on this thing probably breaking out, continuing with the move. If I really had to, yeah, it just needs to close a daily above 11 and a quarter basically. And I would call, I mean, I'm not saying anything crazy at that point, you know, it's not very helpful, but just new highs, you know, you're probably looking at about 13, 14 bucks if that happens. You got hidden bullish evidence on this last local low, but you could that move is already played out, to be fair. 5-day time frame, this looks good to me. I would be biased on this very likely continuing nasty. I would get bearish below 880, or what was it, like last Thursday's low, sorry, 780. 880 is probably bad enough, but 780 would be at the official pivot there. Until then, it does have a lack of history here, but the history is good. So there is that. Good thing I don't have a neck beard. Well, thank God for that, man. Thank God for that. Yeah, fair enough, man. Is iron ever going to retest all-time high? I mean, to do an analysis for eternity would be difficult, but actually, I do kind of like this. Not that I'd necessarily buy it myself, but yeah, I think it's going to retest that all-time high? Probably over summer, yeah. This thing is objectively bullish as long as you're above $51. So the general path of least resistance right now would be back around there. If it loses $51, I think you're in for a massive correction down to 40. But until then, follow the yellow brick trend, man. Krown, did you check the credibility of the $5,000 guys? I know badass white hats that never ever would step in possible troughs. What? Wait, what? Like this one, even if probably legit. I mean, they've been around for 3 years. They haven't missed a payout. That's good enough for me. I'll say that, but you know, as always, I mean, shit. It is the fucking crypto space after all, so you never know, truly. But if we're going off of history, it's not bad, man. For 3 years, never missing a payout, you know, not having any major major issues there. I think that's respectable. Anyways, let's see. Let's read through a few more of these. Barry Woods looking at Riot, daily, weekly. Okay, RIOT. Riot platforms. All right, we're getting pretty damn close to that FOMC event. It's just an 8 minutes away now. Riot, I actually do think has upside here, man. It broke out last month. Whatever we were marking off here, I don't think we looked at this one in a long time, but whatever we were marking off here, it reclaimed. So I would be looking for this thing to make its way towards 39, 40 bucks. Maybe if things get really crazy, 45. Probably a nice move there. Yep, we just literally got Riot, so good. It's like I read your mind, or I just read your previous comment. I would switch around my short-term opinion if it lost last week's low at 23.5 bucks. But until then, man, yeah, let it rip to the upside from here. Not a humongous fan of the long-term chart, obviously, but yeah, the quarterly is good. This thing is very likely poised for a nice move in summer. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see it around $40. Actually, like that's okay. That's okay, man. Shit, maybe I need to write this one down myself. You got a quarterly higher low, a couple of quarterly higher lows. You're back around those previous highs. You know, this thing might actually rip towards 40, 50 bucks. It's not bad. I'm gonna write this one down. I remember Riot from back in 2017, 2018. Massive flippy floppy there. Anyways, death to boredom by Ribbons chart. Yeah, we've looked at that one many times in the past, and I think last it was actually kind of reversing here, so it might still be doing that. Let's see. Yeah, actually, I do think that this one probably tries another move towards $20. Lapis says Tron. Okay, we'll go deep inside the shitcoin drawer right now, even though this one actually, to be fair, does have an uptrend, but. Well, your monthly is starting to give you some concerning signals. You got some bearish divergence developing, but only really relevant if it closes effectively here or lower by end of June. And at that point, I'd be calling to move back down to like 28 cents or so. Yeah, not so interesting of a chart, to be fair, because even for a shitcoin, it doesn't have like these massive swings. you know, you'd be expecting on a monthly for a shitcoin, like it's going to have, you know, 30, 40, 50% swings, but this thing's like 10%, which is kind of destroys the point of a shitcoin in my opinion. But anyways, short term probably tries a bit of a rally here, but if it finishes out the month specifically below 32 or just anywhere around 32 cents, anywhere below 32.5 cents, I would call next move down. All right, let's see. Okay. KSE 100. What is this? What is PSX? I'm curious, like what country is this for? I don't have an opinion on it. It's just straight fucking up, man. But look, if I had to call it, it's gonna retest those previous all-time highs and make new all-time highs. But I don't trust stuff like this. It's fucking Pakistan's stock market, man. Like, God, I fear to even ask what the reporting is like on their stocks. But hey, at least it goes up. So you got that, man. Very bearish if it comes back down below 150,000. But do I trust this chart? Not really. Look, I've never looked at Pakistan markets before. I don't know. I don't know if it plays technically. These sort of things. So take it with a grain of salt, man. Keel, uppity up. Monthly pretty good here. We got 1, 2, 3 higher lows, reclaimed the previous high. Beautiful. I think your next move is back around that $7.50 to $8 high. Probably a summer move, but yeah, not bad. Yeah, not bad. I would get bearish if it did come back down below about 480 for what it's worth. But until then, it's a pretty crazy move there, but higher term time frame still look good. So as long as it remains above that pivot, I would treat it as bullish, man. Hey, all good 69. I don't use Reddit, but it's monetizing well now. Fair enough. How do they monetize? I actually didn't. I didn't know. How do they monetize? Do you have to pay for Reddit?
No. Probably you pick ads.
Oh, it's probably ads. Yeah. Duh. Duh. Piddle Cats wants to look at 79.74. Let's look at some Japanese stocks here. This is Nintendo. Great company, terrible chart. I think Elsa's single-handedly keeping them afloat. Look, I think that you are setting up for a pretty major bounce soon, but I would be remiss not to acknowledge that this chart is like objectively not great. But I do think you're in for a big bounce, kind of from where you're at right now. Maybe it has one more move down to 6,600. But either which way, whether it bottoms out here, whether it has another like 10% move to the downside, I do think you're setting up for a pretty big bounce relatively soon. That bounce probably goes throughout most of summer. You will naturally have on whatever bounce you get some hidden bullish evidence on the quarterly. You're already at lower lows than even all the way back here from 2018. So, you know, I would say into end of year, you're probably looking at a nice bounce on this thing. But do I think it's going to reclaim this previous high? Probably not. It's probably going to be probably gonna be a decent bounce, like a big bounce, but I don't think it's gonna reverse the overall trend, at least for now. Pakistan grape, what does that mean? Sir, can you please look at Uber? I've been holding it since early this year. Okay. Uber. I'm sorry for your loss, sir. Look, you're starting to put in some bullish divergence drives here on the weekly, so you probably got a nice correct. You got the easy corrective move to 75 already. I think we looked at this one like a month ago or something like that. Kind of looking at something like that. Do I have a chart on this one? No. I'm probably thinking of something else. I haven't charted this one in a long time, apparently. Look, I think you could easily have a corrective move back into like $78.50, but your next move is very likely a bounce. I'm not necessarily bullish on this thing, though. I'll put it that way. If it bounced back to like $80, I think that's kind of a gift from God in this case. Yeah. Next move, very likely a bounce. I think that bounce inevitably will fail, whether it's like 78 or $80, I don't know. But I do think that you will come down at some point to like mid to low 60s, man. Thanks for checking out Nintendo, Super Mario, and Zelda, some of the most fun games ever. Yeah, man. Elsa played what? It was Super Mario Odyssey, I think. Is that the one that you really liked? Yeah. And Zelda, she always loved as well. And then she's playing, what's the one you're playing now? Yoshi? Yeah. Yoshi, and then she also loved Donkey Kong too. That game apparently was really, really good. Up or down for fire at will for what? I don't know what you're talking about, man. Up or down? I'm looking up and I'm looking down. I don't know. Aim upwards is usually the answer. Revenue's been growing at 35% CAGR for quite a while. It's a pretty sound business for now. For what? Oh, you're talking about Reddit? Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, it's not bad. Not bad for chart. Have you looked at gold or silver today? No, I think they're still in the process of bouncing. Gold's pretty damn close to my first major bounce target, which is 44. And seeing as it's this bounce really should go on for a little bit longer. I don't think it's going to top out at 44. I think that you will get up to 45. You even see some hidden bullish evidence here on the weekly time frame. So I do, I do respect that for this corrective move continuing up. Overall, I still remain bearish on it, but I do think you're going to get that move up to like 45, something like that. Yeah, I'm going to guess the same thing for silver as well. Probably having a nice big old bounce here, some big old bouncing titties. Silver a little bit more anemic on the bounce, but still, you got that drive of hidden bullish evidence populating here. You know, maybe it trades up to like 75, 77, you know, in best of circumstances. Come back to it after that. I should outline areas for calling a reversal. While I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, you know, always need to have some sort of trigger for it. For gold, it's, you know, it's like almost 7,800. For silver, it's basically the high of, let's call it like low 80s, like $84. Fed news time. Yeah, probably coming out right now. Let's see what's going on Twitter. Because that's my method of getting the news. Let's see. I wonder if there's probably a live stream on YouTube. Maybe we can let's watch it together. Do they live stream the FOMC still? Let's see. FOMC meeting live. Yeah, it's right there. Sweet. No, I don't want a fucking stream of some streamer. Yeah, here we go. All right, let's see what's going on. It'd be great if it could load it. Okay, first things first. Whenever you go to a fucking live stream where there's shit ton of people, get rid of the comments because you're only going to see the worst dumbass shit there ever. Let's see.
Although supervised by the Federal Reserve Board, the reserve banks operate independently in many respects. The reserve banks carry out a number of core system functions, such as supervising and examining commercial banks and other financial institutions,
yeah, we can
enforcing
look at the Bitcoin chart while
compliance
this
with
happens,
federal
for sure.
consumer protection and fair lending laws, while promoting local community
Bitcoin coming down a bit now.
and lending to depository institutions
spread,
to ensure crucial liquidity in the financial system. They and the board also play.
All right, I'm going to turn this guy down a little bit. Hey, get to the good part, buddy. Hey, bud. When's the good part?
Operating electronic payment systems,
yeah, that's
and
fucking
clearing
annoying.
our checks. In addition,
yeah,
the reserve
Bitcoin not
banks
really.
act
I mean,
as the government's bank,
it's a little bit of a lower high there, and you do have some hidden bearish evidence going to be developing on that move.
Issuing and redeeming U.S. government securities.
Maybe another run at these 64 lows, but doesn't really do anything for me right here.
Thrifts, and credit unions. Reserve banks also provide
Let's go over here. Or no.
Conditions across the nation.
Let's see. Yeah, so interestingly enough, on the index for Rev and Ribbons, the mid band providing the impetus for a bounce. On CME, it's providing the impetus for a pullback. But yeah, CME does outweigh these things, although both of them kind of do have some edge there. Let's see, we'll be patient here. God damn, man, like, get to the fucking point, man. Don't care about all this shit. First news trading. Let's see, I'll ask Grok if anything's come out yet.
From the board and the reserve banks to consider the state of the U.S. economy and set a course for our monetary policy in a manner that seeks to promote an economy that works for all Americans. Member FOMC establishes an appropriate
Grok's actually pretty good with like current events. Yep, it has been decided. FOMC is keeping the target range for the federal fund rates unchanged. Okay, I think that was quite expected. It was literally unanimous as well. Okay, matches widespread expectations. Markets has priced in. Okay, let's see. When does Warsh speak?
These three
regarding
entities
this
and the
meeting.
Federal Reserve
Let's see.
System structure established by Congress more than
Let
a
us
century ago
see.
help
Let
promote
us see.
conditions resulting in a strong, healthy, and sustainable
2:30
economy.
Eastern Standard Time.
For
So
more
what? We're
information on
25
how the
minutes
Fed
away from that.
functions, visit
I don't know. Should we stay on for
federalreserve.gov
that?
and click on About the
I need to
Fed.
take a shit, dude. I need to take a shit. A big old shit. Aaron Fowle says CVX. Yeah, so you're just getting the first response
I'm
on this
Ian,
right now.
and I work for the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United
It's going to be
States.
down, but
The Federal
realistically, the
Reserve
direction is
System
going to be
consists of
revealed when he
three
starts
main
speaking. But
entities
hey, I
that
don't mind
perform
this
key
downside move.
functions
Let me
that
see.
serve the public
Might even
and
want to take
promote
some
the health
profits
of our
here. Let
economy
me
and the
look at my
stability
positions
of our
really quick.
financial system. These key entities are
And then we'll get to that
Federal
question.
Reserve Board of Governors,
Sorry, but I do need to check on my own
12 Federal Reserve
positions. Like
banks
these are
operating
already
around
in
our
big
nation,
profit. I'm just going to
and
close
the
it.
Federal
I don't want to
Open
wait around for his
Based in Washington,
speech to
D.C., the Board of Governors is
fuck
the
me.
governing body of the Federal Reserve System. It's an agency of the federal government that
Well,
reports
these are
to
looking pretty
and is
good.
directly accountable to Congress.
These are looking pretty
The
good.
board consists of 7
I like
members
what's
or
going
governors
on
who are
here.
nominated by the President of the
I
United
like
States
what's going
and
on here a
confirmed by the
lot.
Senate. Governors are appointed for 14-year terms.
Close
The Board of
half.
Governors oversees and sets policy direction
All right.
for the system.
We just
including
scoot
12 Federal
around
Reserve
a
banks
little bit.
located around the country,
Little bits, a
which
lot of
take the
bits.
pulse of the nation's
Anyways, Aaron
economic
Fowle's
health
looking at
from a
CVX.
regional
Okay.
perspective. The 12
Let me
reserve
break up a new
banks
chart for this one. I
represent
do want to
different
keep
geographic regions or
Bitcoins
districts, and were set
on
up
one of
based
them.
regional economic considerations.
Oh, and
Although
I'll turn off the
supervised by
fucking F1C there. Sorry, guys. My apologies. I forgot it was still on. Forgot it was still on. CVX coming down here quite nastily. Let's see. Jesus Christ, man. This thing's had every fucking opportunity to continue with this breakout. Actually, still okay, to be fair. Quarterly, still above that 5 EMA at 175. But yeah, reminder number 1,000,000,001. I don't play fucking oil and gas because weird shit happens, man. Weird shit happens. Technically, it's still okay, but weekly, monthly, more downside if it breaks April's low. So April's low is what? Where is April? It's well below April's low, man. If it closed below there, yeah, I'd be looking to like 167, 168. Yeah, it's not looking too hot right there. I will say that. And to be fair, you do have some bearish divergence building. So technically speaking, 169 to 170 is looking a lot better right now. Stay on poopy stream first. I could just leave this guy talking over here while I go take a shit. Go back to Bitcoin in the meantime. All right. Let's see. Getting all kinds of notifications right now. Jesus Christ, man. I just got like 10 emails too. That's cool. That's nice. It's good. Okay. What is this about? Is this important or not? Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. It's like you get like a shit ton of emails and literally none of them are relevant. All spam, all bullshit, but doesn't matter. It's okay. Ooh, actually, this is starting to shape up to be a really fucking nice trade. Hold on. I think I'm gonna have to close some more of this. This is. I don't like having some of these opens while he's actually literally getting ready to speak. So I'm gonna start to close some of these. 1.5. Yeah, let's go 1.9. 192. There we go. Okay, that's a nice one. That's real nice. That's real nice over there. All right. Let's see. Good news. We are landing. Bad news. It's a crash landing. Fair enough. I don't know, man. I think you really got to hand it to the Fed, despite all the bullshit, despite all of the stuff going on in the world. Markets continue to remain up. I mean, for fuck's sake, like, you might hate Biden, you might hate Trump, you might hate who is before Trump. Well, Obama. Well, no, Mark's kind of did go down during Obama. Mark's just go fucking up. So who gives a shit? It's all we really care about anyways, right? Everything dumping. I mean, yeah, it's dumping, but look, man, I think you might be stuck on the 5-minute time frame. Like I said, really doesn't matter until he starts actually speaking, but I will take profit on some of these positions. If he does say something that's like going to be perceived quite bullishly, then I don't want to be caught giving some of these profits away, at least for right now. I think that there'll be another trade on the other side anyways. Powell is a legend. Yeah. I mean, people like to give shit to Powell. Look, he worked us through what, the 2018 drawdown, or was no, sorry, no, that was not him. He worked us through the COVID dump, the 2022 bear market, and all of the fucking shit in the past couple of years with Liberation Day and the flash crash in August of last year. Markets continued to march upwards to the right. I mean, like, I think if you hate him, it's politically motivated. And that's fine. Like, look, you're free to believe whatever the fuck you want to believe, right? But it is politically motivated, to be fair. Just like, look, if you hated the UFC event last Sunday, I think that's politically motivated too. Like, Jesus Christ, man, that event was awesome. I don't even like the UFC. I thought it was awesome. Cool. What do you think about LA cops shooting dog dead? Don't do it. What do I think? Like, what do you expect on an answer for that, man? Steady hand on the tiller. Yeah, man. You gotta give credit where credit is due, man. At the end of the day, mark's going up. Like, I'm never gonna fucking hate that. If you own assets, you can't hate that. I mean, shit, even if you don't, I mean, I think that's kind of your fault. Yes, there can be financial situations where, you know, you can't invest, I guess, you know, but I think at least at some level, you can at least put something away. Would you ever do a meet and greet? I mean, I wouldn't do like a fucking, look, I'm not fucking famous, man. Like, just fucking, you know, if you see me on the street, say hello. I'm happy to talk. I've met plenty of people that way. I've met many people that way, especially at the gym too. Always at Lifetime gyms. There's always community members there. I'm always happy to chat with people like that, man. But a meet and greet, like, don't waste your time, man. I'm not that cool. Just fucking find me on the street and say hello. I'll have a chat then. It'll be fun. What was that old saying about planting a tree? I don't know, but I don't know. I don't even know what that's in reference to. To be honest. Dixie 100, let's go check it out. Dixie over here, 100. It is indeed 100. Nice. Yeah, hard not to be. I mean, look, I don't know if this plays that technically, but if it does, I'm bullish off this. Would seem quite obvious to me. It wants to pop back up like in kind of a big way. So there is that. But the question is, does it play technically? That's a real question. One day I'll be rich and famous. I only want one of those things. Topiary got his face destroyed. Yeah, I mean, he did. But look, man, like I said, I'm not a humongous fan of the UFC, but I like stand-up game. I like watching that. I don't like the ground stuff. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. I just don't understand it. I haven't studied it. I haven't trained it. So I don't get it. You know, I don't think it's that interesting to watch for me. But I like stand-up game. And I do think Ilya's, he really is among the best in the world at stand-up game. But fuck, man, I just love watching a good match. But in terms of skill, you know, he's probably more skilled than the other guy. But hey, man, Gaethje waiting, it's like epic upon epic upon epic. The walkout was epic. The match was epic. Gaethje was in trouble multiple times. He fucking grounded out. He won. He's a legend now. He's a legend. Like, I love seeing stuff like that. That's what I love seeing, man. But yeah, Ilya, dude, no disrespect towards him, man. He's phenomenal in his own regard. Truly incredible. You know, especially at stand-up game, especially with his hands. I mean, goddamn, man. Hard to beat a guy like that. Should we go down to the 5-minute time frame? That was my dream about you. Had a meet and greet, Elsa and Doggy. Wait, what? There was no sexual favors involved? I want a refund on this meet and greet. Krown, do you think Michael Obama is a man? Probably. I don't know if she is or isn't, but I think it's hilarious, so I'm just gonna believe it. I'm gonna lean into that one. Look, I love how people have gotten so fucking angry about that. Like, shut the fuck up. It's funny, okay? Have a fucking laugh. Don't take yourself so seriously. Do you really think one fucking dude who was saying, like, if you know the guy who said it, Hokit, like, he's just a known jokester, man. Do you think him really saying that makes her a man? Like, God. What's more insufferable to me is the people who are complaining, clutching their pearls, it's typically the same people who also literally think that men can become women and women can become men, and they have no issue with that. It's like, what's so bad about that, huh? But whatever, man. I mean, for fuck's sake, like, it's funny, dude. You know, it's just funny. Like, pathetic that people get pissed off about that. The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. Yeah, I agree with that. Krown doesn't like the gay stuff. No, I love gay stuff. I love gay stuff. I'm gay myself. See, I said it online, so it definitely makes it true. Yeah, man, it's like, who gives a shit about that? Like, I think those people just, again, politically motivated. People just want to be mad because you can't fucking say this about my favorite person and you can't say that about my favorite person. Like, dude, you could call Melania Trump a man. Who gives a shit? That doesn't, just because someone calls her that doesn't make her an actual fucking man. I can tell you though, when, because we watched that event live, my dad was with us, and my dad's like, he's very far on the left, in a way. I mean, he's not like far enough to where I think he, you know, he believes in all like the trans shit and shit like that. But he did not laugh. Did not think it was fun. That, I know what is funny, and that was not funny. I have a good sense of humor. All right, whatever you say. How about Madame Macron? Again, hilarious. I think it's hilarious. Is she actually a man? Probably not. Is it funny? Yes, it's funny. It's very funny. It's very fucking funny. Is she actually a man? Probably not. Probably not. Look, are these people weird as fuck? Yes, they are weird as fuck. Like, they really are, you know? Like, these elite politicians, they're all fucking weird as hell. They're all weird as shit, man. Krown's, no, my father's not a trans. I was saying, like, he believes in, you know, like, I was saying he's not like that far left where he believes in like that crazy shit. He's just far left to where, like, basically anything Trump says is the devil, basically. But whatever, you know, you're entitled to your beliefs. Like, who gives a shit? What's your thought about Bigfoot? I hope he's real. I hope he's real. I'm gonna go search him out and fuck him, and then we're gonna prove that I truly am related to Bigfoot with all my hair. Ladyboy Maxon in Thailand. Yeah, what's wrong? What's wrong about that? I love the. Are you actually a man, Krown? No judgment here. We may never know the truth of the situation. Ladyboy Maxon in Thailand. I think just the term ladyboy is hilarious. Like, you could think like a Thai person who like doesn't have a strong grasp of English. They're like, how do I explain what I am? Lady and boy. Lady, boy. Lady, boy. I am lady, I am boy. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but if you say something I don't like about someone I never met, I will absolutely lose my mind. Yeah, man. That is exactly what it is. Like, I probably don't even know someone who knows someone who knows someone who's even met Michelle Obama or Big Mike Obama. I also don't know someone who knows someone who knows. Actually, I do know someone who actually has met Trump, so I can't necessarily say that. But before meeting him, I don't think I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew Trump. Like, who gives a shit, man? Can we make a new Krown intro with AI? That South Park stuff's dope. I'd be open to it. Probably could use a refresher, but I don't know. That's outside of my wheelhouse, man. Who's more likely a man, Michelle, Mike, or Macron? I mean, Mike, look, like, her fucking frame is like that. That's a frame that many men would wish for, to be honest. Let's just be honest. No. Like, she's got like kind of like a rectangular frame, to be fair. But Macron, I think she just looks like a fucking vampire. She just looks like a fucking old vampire. So I don't know, man. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, maybe. Don't change. Intro is perfect. Yeah, man. I shook Trump's hand and I became orange too. That's awesome. VG on the weekly. Sure, man. Excuse me. Bad on the 5-minute. On the weekly, however, also terrible. Probably down. Unless if the weekly recovers in a big way over the next week or two, like before June ends, above $12, I'd be extremely bearish on this thing. This is ugly. This is bad. This is real bad. Have you checked out Circle? I haven't checked out Circle, but I assume it's still probably bad. Yeah, man, not good here. Only way I change my opinion on Circle is if it pops back above about $100 again. Until then, I think, I mean, at least you got some bullish divergence developing on the daily time frame here, but you know, that's only, you got an obvious move probably in the short term to like $91, $92, but that's still far quite away from 100. If it could reclaim 100 though, that would start to look pretty good to me. For potential reversal, still wouldn't even be confirmed on that, but you know, you have the setup there at least. INFQ daily, weekly, sure. Go on that one really quick. The INFQ, where is my INF derp? No, it's here somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. It's literally in front of my face. You said weekly? It's hanging on for dear life. But for me, last week's rejection was the kind of nail in the coffin, at least for me. You can make an argument for it here. It still remains with the monthly 5 EMA, but it's not going off much. I think if you're in a position here, you're kind of hoping and praying. If it could reclaim, let's say 15 and a quarter on a daily closing basis, or sorry, 15.30 on a daily closing basis, then I think you got a real opportunity there for a reversal. But for right now, the bears are on. You got to kind of favor the bears here. Barry Wood says INFQ is fine, man. Maybe we dump more, but who cares? Probably up from here as spies can control itself. Maybe. I do like that it's retested this high a few times, to be fair. But look, the thing is that it could dump down a little bit lower, still put in a higher low at like 12 and a half. So I guess I would kind of agree with you. It's just, do you want to hold through like a 10, 20% move? For me, generally no. When are we starting the news? The press conference will start in about 10 minutes. So very soon here, actually. Let's go back to Bitcoins while we wait this one out. This one's flippy flopping around a lot. See the 5-minute time frame is just kind of all centered around the 200 simple right now. So, nothing's really been decided. Like I said, when it comes to these events, it's really all about the conference call. That first move, it could easily get undone. It could also just easily fucking fall through the floor here, but nothing's really changed, at least for me. I do have to say, I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that he might say some bullish things, just putting it out there. And what is that based off of? Krown's crazy fucking mind. Not much. I ain't an insider, just so you know. 19 says Neo Crypto. Oh, you bastard. Look, my voice can't handle this right now, so I'll just abuse. Oh, yeah. Great chart, man.
Look out, faggot! Don't waste my motherfucking time!
How's that ass feel?
And that's my analysis. All right. Oh, we're waiting for him. All right, I'm going to put this on a little bit lower than me. It's like some good music in the background. Krown, how would you suggest to start trading for a beginner? Don't. First study. Go through the TA 101. It's linked in the pinned comment of the chat section here. It's free. It'll show you actually how to, first off, it'll give you the basis and fundamentals of technical analysis. And then it'll go over actually how to construct a strategy. That's where I'd start. I would not put any money at risk. I would test the strategy. I would spend my, a long time back testing and just studying and watching charts months, before I ever put any real money at risk. And let's start very, very small, man. And then from there, I'd probably go to Central Command and use their AI agent. I think discretionary trading at this point is a thing of the past. I think you only do it if you really want to do it, but it is absolutely not going to be optimal in my opinion. Price action guys will fucking, skewer me for that, but it is the truth. And I personally, I just think that they're lying to themselves, but yeah. Who the fuck requested shitty ass Neo? Why are people freaking out about Warsh cutting back guidance when that's what he promised? It's just the headlines as always, man. It's just the headlines as always. I miss Powell. Look, Biden was hilarious in my opinion. Like when he would just be like walking around confused as fuck, it was sad, but it was also very funny, given the situation. It was sad because look, that's someone's grandpa. But it was very funny because that's literally the president, and somehow, some way, people were literally trying to convince other people, despite all of the overwhelming evidence, that he is sharp as a tack. Like, no matter if you're on the left or the right, I hope there's something that we can all agree on. The mainstream media is just fucking pure garbage. Listening to the mainstream media is not just not getting information. It is quite literally misinformation, disinformation, whatever the word is. It's deliberately misleading you. It's unbelievable. Happy Pride Month to you, Krown. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I'm finally a flaming homosexual and proud of it. I already sucked 5 dicks this morning, even Rosie's. She's a girl, by the way, but that doesn't stop me. Did you see him shit his pants at the D-Day memoriam? Actually, I don't remember that one. Yeah. Yeah, man. Every once in a while, I'll still like listen to Biden's like best fucking fuck ups. It's so hilarious, man. It's so funny. It's so funny. The background music is inspirational. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoy it, man. Can we get some fucking moves here or what? I agree. Mainstream media is terrible. This is why I don't have a TV. I mean, to be fair, though, like most of social media also is just god awful as well. Like you have to realize all news is going to be in some way spinning things. It is all an influential campaign. And I think at some point, we probably do just have to agree, okay, we're just going to slurp on this propaganda and ignore all of the rest of the propaganda, because otherwise we just get too fucking divided. That's how it used to be in, in the days or back in the days, like, even like 20 years ago. But yeah, I don't know. You just can't have you can't have a prosperous country and be divided like that. Prosperity and the American empire and just empires in general became so powerful because of unity, and not unity of like skin color or this and that. It was unity of values. It was just sharing the same values, what it really was. So yeah. I mean, like when it comes to the news, I always refer back to the Yuri Bezmenov video where he explains how subversion tactics work. And once I viewed that video for the first time, maybe like 5-ish years ago, maybe it was more than that, but something like that. It changed my worldview on everything, and it's just I can't negate what he said. It is there in front of our very eyes at every fucking turn. It's all subversion campaigns. And yeah, it's fucked. Did they fall asleep at the Fed because of the music? Oh, we got a lady up there. It's a lady. Great. Yeah, sharp as a tack. He's totally sharp as a tack. I totally believe you. I mean, what's that 1984 line? It's like, and they convinced you not to believe what's in front of your very eyes. I mean, for fuck's sake, like, again, another thing that I just think we could all agree on is like voter ID and voter registration. It just seems so fucking obvious, man. That's one of those things that makes me scratch my head. I can't even see the opposing argument for it. The opposing argument for it is racism, but that doesn't hold up because the people that they are apparently championing are mostly in favor of such ID. I think it's even just racist to say that to begin with. It's like, what, you literally don't think black people are capable of fucking reading and obtaining an ID? Like, God. That is true. That is like truly fucked up in my opinion. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. Is gonna cause Bitcoin to dip a lot more than you think, says Ascendant Focus. Well, my short positions would appreciate that, but I've already closed half, so I'm going to play the rest of the position. I'll cover if I have to cover. Wouldn't mind. I ain't complaining. If that happens, I ain't complaining. Oh, there, that was just the hourly. 5 minutes still stuck at the 200 simple. You can see things just go into a holding pattern when you get an event like this. But thanks for letting us know. Ascendant Focus. Ministry of Truth. Yeah, exactly. Book, read 1984 by George Orwell. Very, very well. Obviously, yeah, man. Yeah. Show membership to gym. Yeah, exactly, man. It's just, I think like, look, if I was black, I'd be insulted. I have black friends and they're mostly on the right, to be honest. And they think that that's just insulting. They're like, what, you think I'm a dumb fucking monkey that just can't get an ID because I'm black? Like, who's the racist now? It's just insane, man. It's totally insane. Kathy Hochul said most black children don't know what a computer was. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Ugh. Like, I mean, these people are so disconnected. Either they're no, they're not disconnected. I think they know. I think they know. It has to be a politically motivated statement. It has to be a politically motivated statement. Can you check the quantum wave bands? I can. I probably wouldn't be taking like a trade freshly right now, though. I mean, that is just like a full-on gamble, in my opinion. But yeah, we can do a quick check on them. Hourly, I think they're still doing pretty well here too. I haven't checked on them myself, even in like a week or two. Let's see. You can't function in life without an ID. I agree with the point that it's extremely racist to think that they can't get one. Yeah, I don't really see it. I just don't. Yeah, like I'm trying to steel man the other argument, and I just can't do it. It's kind of lost its luster here a little bit, but still putting in those higher lows. So I do like that. Overall, I think it's pretty good there. It's not in any active trades though right now. Had a couple of good trades right here. Small loss right there. Was this like a wash trade right there? And big drawdown for a moment. Yeah, a lot of losses on this downside move as well. But hold on.
And to take up this duty at a time of such consequence. I've been especially heartened of old friends and new colleagues both. And I've listened closely to my fellow FOMC.
Hey, his microphone sucks. Oh, no. What the fuck?
Moving the Fed forward.
Oh my God, my stupid fucking mouse. Sorry guys.
FOMC
That was me, not him.
Exemplified the very best of the Fed's traditions. Rigorous debate, open-mindedness, commitment to mission, responsibility, and accountability.
All right, get to the good part, buddy.
In this business, they all add up to one thing.
You want me to turn it up?
Getting
I can turn it up a little bit more.
monetary policy right, or as near to it as we can do. That is our North Star. My colleagues and I are here to serve our legislative remit, which you've heard us say before, price stability and maximum employment. And these objectives guided our business in the meeting just concluded. As you saw a few moments ago, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the Fed funds rate at 3.5% to 3.75% in support of the Fed's dual mandate. The committee also reaffirmed its policy of maintaining ample reserves in the banking system. Economic activity is expanding at a solid pace, despite elevated uncertainty that owes in part to the conflict in the Middle East. Productivity growth and capital investment, both strong. Job gains have kept pace with the workforce, and the unemployment rate has changed little. We recognize that inflation has been running well ahead of the Fed's long-stated inflation goal of 2%. That's been going on for more than 5 years. Persistently high prices are a burden for the American people.
He's going to tell us all to ape into Fartcoin.
But the recent past
we may never
not
know.
Be prologue. I am pleased to report that members of the FOMC are unambiguous and unanimous. This committee will deliver price stability.
Nice.
At any institution, a change in leadership is a natural and timely opportunity to reaffirm its mission, to review current practices, and to consider whether those practices best meet our objectives. my Fed colleagues and I will be working in close collaboration to ask what changes might improve the conduct of monetary policy. On that score, you might have already noticed something, a difference in today's policy statement. It's a bit shorter, a bit simpler, and it dispenses with some older language. That statement just gives you the facts as best we can judge it. Absent also is so-called forward guidance, which we agreed was not well suited to the current policy conjuncture. This afternoon, you also received the usual summary of economic projections. It's been the practice of this committee for participants to submit these projections, and I have encouraged my colleagues to continue to do so. I, however, have refrained from offering any projections of my own, consistent with my long-held views on the SEP, at least as currently structured. In the median projections, real GDP rises at 2.2% this year, 2.3% next year, and total PC inflation runs at 3.6%
Say
this
Bitcoin
year,
Reserve.
2.3% next year. The unemployment rate stands at about 4.3%. The median participant judges that the appropriate federal funds rate to be at 3.8% at the end of this year and 3.6% at the end of next.
Ooh.
Let me turn now to a few words on a key initiative that we're announcing today. I'm appointing a task force in each of 5 areas that are central to the broad conduct of monetary policy. First, Fed communications. Second, the Fed's balance sheet. Third, our use and reliance on existing data sources. Fourth, productivity and jobs in an era of transformation. And last, the Fed's inflation frameworks. These subjects are timely, consequential, and in my view, worthy of a fresh look. My colleagues and I discussed them with energy and purpose over the last couple of days. For each of these independent task forces, I'm enlisting some of the very best minds, both inside and outside the economics profession. They will be supported by subject matter specialists from our superb Fed staff. And they'll have a straightforward charge. Start with first principles. Ask hard questions. Examine current practice. Consider alternatives. And ultimately, propose next steps for policymaker consideration. Since last summer, my colleagues discussed possible improvements in the form and function of Fed communications. This new task force will build on that effort, and I expect propose some well-considered changes, including to the SEP I mentioned a few moments ago. The second task force, the one on balance sheet policy, will review the benefits and risks of the current ample reserves regime and the composition of the Fed's balance sheet. They will assess alternative frameworks for the conduct and operation of monetary policy. The third task force, the one on data, will evaluate new information sources and consider methodological changes to improve data gathering, with the aim of giving policymakers more accurate, relevant, contemporaneous, and perhaps most important, actionable information on the state of our economy. Fourth, the task force on productivity and jobs. It'll survey the pace, the reach, the economic impact of new general purpose technologies, including AI, and explore the implications
These comments are really good right now
for the Fed in pursuit of our employment and inflation mandates. The last task force, the one on inflation frameworks, that'll examine the drivers of inflation, first principles, and weigh the full range of ideas for delivering price stability in a changing economy. You'll hear quite a bit more about these task forces and this overall initiative in the coming weeks. Enough for now to make a simple statement. Each task force will serve an objective shared by everyone in the system, shared by everyone around that table that I sat with over the last couple of days. A Federal Reserve that is clear-eyed about its mission, fit for purpose, and focused on the future. And with that, I appreciate your attention. I'm happy to take your questions.
Let's go.
Hi, Chairman Howard Schneider with Reuters.
Make it
to
good,
see you
buddy.
again, and welcome back. This is a lot to be putting in motion so fast. What is the timeline you have in mind for each of these?
So I think it'll depend on the task force. It also depends on the urgency in which we need clear answers. My expectation, I'm still in the business of recruiting and finalizing them. My expectation is the task forces will begin work in the next couple of weeks, and we'll start to get some more information from them, some more framing of how they see things starting in the fall, and hopefully most, if not all of them, concluding by year end.
And just specifically on the inflation framework, you talk about first principles. Does this include a review of the 2% target itself? You've mentioned that things to the right of the decimal point don't matter. Should this be starting from a premise that 2% as a point estimate is too strict?
Let me break that into two pieces. First, on the inflation framework review, their remit is what are the drivers of inflation? What's the Fed's responsibility for inflation? In part, how do we measure inflation? But that'll overlap with my data group. On the 2% inflation objective, that is the Federal Reserve's long-held objective of 2%. You've heard me say before, I tend to focus on the left of the decimal point. Well, the 2 is the left of the decimal point. For now, 0 is to the right. I see no reason until we have reestablished our commitment and ability to deliver on the 2% inflation objective to revisit that. So that'll be outside the scope of what we're taking on.
2% remains the target, apparently.
Thank you so much. Colby Smith with the New York Times.
See how markets are looking at this.
Said that inflation is a choice, and in the policy statement,
Bitcoin's
it includes this pledge to
65,
deliver price
600.
stability, as you've reiterated today. But looking at the SEP,
Gold,
the
big-
bulk of your
oh,
colleagues
wait.
expect core PCE to run around 3.3%
Big
by
down
year
there.
end, and for the 2% inflation target not to be reached
Hidden
until
bearish evidence
2028.
forming as well.
So I'm curious how patient you think the Fed can afford to be at this juncture in terms of waiting for one-time inflation waves to wash through and for underlying inflation to step down after so many years of inflation running above target, and under what circumstances you
I
would
wish one of
support
these
the
fucking
Fed
reporters
taking
would
some
just
action
straight
on
up
raising
ask,
rates.
are you
So-
going to make markets go
Quite a
up or
bit there.
down? Please
Let me try to break that
respond.
into pieces. First, we have the capability and commitment to deliver on our price stability objective of 2%. That's exactly what we're going to do. In the Fed's review of its strategy over the last any number of years, in January, the Fed, including the strategy that we're still bound by, the Fed statement says that inflation is primarily determined by monetary policy. You bet it is. I've said for years inflation is a choice. You bet it is. And today I'm announcing that this committee unambiguously and unanimously have decided we are going to deliver on that. The rest of your questions sounded like an encouragement for me to give forward guidance. We've dropped forward guidance. Some along the committee, I think, dropped it, I suspect, from our discussion the last couple of days, because they said at this moment in time, it doesn't feel as though providing forward guidance is right. Others have, I'd say, different views and think as a general proposition, forward guidance isn't the business we should be in. But that'll be taken up by the Task Force on Communications and my policymaker colleagues. We're going to listen hard to what the experts say and make our own decision. But I can't give any forward guidance about what we're going to do next. The good news is we'll be meeting in 6 weeks.
So just following up, I guess, on the current policy settings, then I am curious how restrictive you think things are at the current moment, given the flow of data that we've seen and, you know, forecasts that are coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. I've heard characterizations both inside and the Fed about that. I'll give you my own. It's uneven. If I look at the housing markets as one example, Fed policy isn't the single determinant of the state of the housing market. But broadly, I would say there, Fed policy appears to be somewhat restrictive. I would have a hard time managing to say those words if I were to see what's happening in financial markets. So I'd say it's uneven. That's perhaps a function of different transmission mechanisms of monetary policy, whether monetary policy is coming from our interest rate tool or our balance sheet tool. But the good news, we have a task force on that too, and the balance sheet task force will be looking more at that subject.
You've said you don't like forward guidance. You dropped it from the statement this time. But with the dot plot, 9 members suggested that they want a rate increase by the end of the year. And the markets have taken that as forward guidance. So what does this mean in terms of how you guide the markets and in terms of what the dot plot's future is?
I'm going to have to give you the same answer I gave to Ms. Smith. We've got a task force for that. I'll give you a little bit more. I reviewed the dot plots, and when I saw the submissions, I noted that all the submissions were coming in with pencils, you know, those kind with the big erasers. That's to say that I think my colleagues around the table, when they submitted their dots, understand the world is changing quite quickly. And they didn't feel bound by them 6 weeks from now or 6 days from now in the event that their circumstances change. I'll note a couple other things. What I heard around the table was, as they submitted their modal forecasts, to be clear, weren't, this was more likely than not. This was more likely than their other scenarios. So I didn't hear tons of conviction. What I heard was the kind of humility that I think we should have. I did not submit a dot. For me, it's not helpful in the conduct of policy. I suspect by year end, as I mentioned in my opening statements, there'll be a review about communications broadly, press conferences, dots, meetings and the like, transcripts, minutes. This will be part of that. I don't want to prejudge the outcomes there, but I'm pretty open-minded about what they could be. And I was just incredibly impressed over the last couple of days. My colleagues over the last 2 days, and frankly, over the first 3 weeks I've been here, they've been very open about changes. Change isn't easy, change is filled with risk, but our number one goal is to get monetary policy right. The way to get monetary policy right is to deliver on the remit that Congress gave us, to deliver on price stability, and there was no disagreement on any of those points.
At the risk of possibly getting the same answer about task forces, communications, what is your feeling about these news conferences? Are you going to continue one after every meeting? Do you find them useful?
What kind of question is that?
What is the future for the way Kevin Warsh will communicate?
Well, this one's probably got another 15 or 20 minutes in it, so I don't want to prejudge the outcome. Press conferences can be a very useful way to communicate with households, businesses, and more broadly through using the likes of you. I had a great old mentor named George Schultz.
Me and my colleagues agree on one thing. You should smash the likes right now, baby.
Press conferences are useful, but when you have one, you want to make sure you have something important to say. Today, I think we had something important to say about our commitment to deliver on price stability, our commitment to rethink practices with an eye of moving the Fed forward, and to give you and the American people a sense that these aren't idle thoughts, these are concrete thoughts, that we're going to seek out the best minds, both the best thinking inside of the Federal Reserve and the best people I know in business and economics and the academy and technology and the rest, to share their views. That's what we're going to be doing here, the pursuit of truth. I think we're going to come up with some new and interesting things. We made some changes today. I expect more changes to come. And some of those might well be worthy of a press conference.
Chris Rugaber.
Hi, Chris Rugaber at Associated Press. Thanks for taking our questions. Could you give us a sense of how you see inflation more in the long term?
Yeah, this guy's not going to give away anything.
Comment on the ups and downs, but is this mainly driven by energy prices in the Iran war at this point, or do you have any concerns about underlying inflation?
That's a good
pressures,
question.
In the economy. Thank you.
So I can't do much better than the committee just did, so let me restate it. Inflation remains elevated relative to the committee's 2% goal, in part reflecting supply shocks that have driven price increases
He's not going to give
in
anything
certain
away.
sectors, including energy.
That was a good question, though.
The paragraph goes on to say, but to be clear, the Fed will deliver price stability. My own judgment is the committee spent quite a bit of time, not just in 2 days, but over iterations of a couple of weeks. That's what we're prepared to say about inflation, but the commitment to deliver is strong, unanimous, and unambiguous. And that's, I think, an important message. We've missed for 5 years, and we're going to fix that.
Well, great. And then just on the data task force and everything else, I mean, generally speaking, I think people feel the Fed looks at everything already. Certainly, that was the sense from before. Is there data
He's
that
not
you
giving
feel
away
is not given
anything.
enough weight? I mean, you mentioned the trim the mean in the past, but again, that's well known to certainly most Fed members. So what is that task force looking at, and what might be the? I mean, I know you don't want to prejudge the outcome, but are there examples of data that you expect might be given more weight? Thank you.
So you're answering my question. So let me say I don't want to prejudge the outcome. I also don't want to say too much about what they're going to do because I still have a phone call or two to make before I've nailed down the people that are doing that. I'm interested in what the outside experts' view is on the subject. I'll say this generally. Most of the data that central bankers and other government officials in the United States consume come with old-fashioned survey methods, a national accounts of what the U.S. economy looks like that looks very little like the U.S.
Let's take a look at
economy in
SPY.
2026. Survey methods that don't have response rates that we
Yeah,
need.
nothing.
Asking questions that might have been quite applicable
Gap
a
was filled,
generation
though.
ago that are less
Gap was
applicable
filled.
now.
Did bounce.
So even inside of official statistics, I would be open-minded if the task force and our own best thinking had recommendations how those official statistics can be brought up to a standard of our time using new analytic methods. I'd also
New
say
analytic
this,
methods.
almost
Oh, that
every
might have been a
private
key word,
company
actually.
CEO that's running his or her business are doing so with real-time information that isn't subject to much revision, that is telling them what just happened at that very moment. As you know, there are normal, long and variable lags in the conduct of monetary policy. What we're really interested in is what's happening right now. What we're less interested in is echoes of history. And you're hearing from my answer that some of the data that we receive, that we're waiting on, the first Friday after the month, the payroll index or something else, that might be an echo of history that's quite useful on its third revision. We need to take those error bounds down because we have to make hard decisions in real time. I'm really open-minded that there is a lot of new data sources that we can learn from the private sector.
That's going to be the biggest takeaway from this
reforms in the
whole
official
chat.
sector, and new analytic techniques that are
New
far more
analytic
refined than
techniques.
asking a simple
Yes,
question about
yes.
whether something was core
Yes,
or
I
non-core.
like the sounds of that.
Edward.
Thanks. Welcome, Mr. Chairman. Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. So if you don't give a lot of ongoing forward guidance, won't the markets have more volatility, and shouldn't Americans have more access into what you're thinking going forward?
So I think financial markets
Waste of a question.
perform
Again.
best when they react to incoming data. I think the financial markets work less efficiently when they ask a question, how will the Federal Reserve react to that incoming information? The more that markets are paying attention to what's happening in the real economy, deciding what's good data and what's less good data, the more financial markets can price what they believe is the most likely and what are the tail risks. Financial market prices are probably the most important source of information to guide central bankers. But when all the financial markets are doing is reflecting back what we've said, then we're taking the most important source of information and we're being blind to it. I'd like us to create a system where those blinders come off, where markets are following data that they efficiently think is reliable, and they'll be watching data, we'll be watching data. They'll come with better information through market prices to us. We can make more informed decisions. But ultimately, the goal that I said at the outset, deliver on the price stability objective that Congress told us to do and that we've got to get in the business of doing.
Yeah, if I could take you in the meeting a little bit. This is your first meeting. The board members seem fairly hawkish when you listen to, in general, when you listen to what they're saying. Was there any discussion of a rate cut going forward today?
There was one proposal on the table. There was no discussion of any other proposals. The discussion on that proposal, I would say, was quite limited. The group was unanimous and unambiguous on it. It has been the practice of this central bank and others to have a range of alternatives. Today we had one. I thought it furthered the discussion, deepened it. and made it clear what we needed to do and how we needed to deliver. I wouldn't prejudge what happens in the future, but there was only one big subject for us. We took it on. We had a good family fight on it for a couple of days, and we ended up, I think, in a better place.
Claire.
Thanks a lot, Claire Jones, Financial Times. Coming to this blind, reading this very nice short statement that I think we've all appreciated in the room, one might wonder why you didn't raise rates today, considering what you're saying here about the risks to US inflation and your mandate. I guess, why not, and what would you need to see in order to get to that place? And secondly, on your task forces, are there any best practices at other central banks that you'd consider looking at? Thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad they're in the practice of giving you two questions, because my answer to your first question was going to be very curt. I've got nothing more to say than the statement itself. And to the point of the question I got before, market reactions to what we say unfiltered, I think is more helpful than having delivered a statement at me than improvising further upon it. Best practices of task forces. This is a subject I've thought some about. I've been on a task force or two in my life. Best practice, find the best minds. Ensure that the task forces have a range of people, both by backgrounds and predispositions, so they too can have a bit of a family fight. Make sure when you establish a task force that the group that's going to be the recipient of the information feels as though they've got some equities in it too. That's why we're looking for, haven't done the final roll call, some of the most significant talent we have in the building and across the reserve banks on each of these, and in some sense seconding them to this group for a period of some number of months, so that the leaders of the task force know what the most analytical central bank in the world thinks about that. They can reflect on it. And a final best practice, we're not outsourcing decisions to anybody. Administrations past and present, reserve banks have chosen a group of 19 people around the table. These will be our decisions. We can agree to some of the recommendations, disagree with others, have a good family fight about it. But what comes from them will, I hope and believe, make the discussion we have internally better, stronger, more of a dialectic, so that we can
option premiums are going to collapse after this.
Objective.
He's not going to give anything away.
Follow up on your markets point. If you look at 2-year yields, they're really suggesting that markets think more tightening is needed. Would that be your read on what the 2-year yield is saying as well?
We were in such a good place. This is why we don't do third questions, I presume. I'm not going to offer any commentary on market reaction over the last 30 or 60 minutes. What we've given markets is a new chapter for the central bank, some fresh thinking. What we've given markets and households and businesses, I think, is a commitment to ask ourselves hard questions such that we can deliver on the promises that we've made before. This is a lot of change for financial markets to digest. I wouldn't be particularly intrigued by how they react in the first several minutes or even first several days. What I think is most important is that financial markets, and at least as important, households and businesses know that this central bank will deliver on price stability.
Hi, Chairman Warsh. Brian Chung with NBC News. Thank you for taking our questions. So when you say that we've dropped forward guidance for the layperson, that might sound like the Fed's going to say less or offer less insight into where their borrowing costs might go. So for the person that maybe you might run into at the grocery store, where the price tags are rising at a faster pace than their wages at the moment, how would you explain it to them? I don't know if task force might be the answer there, but how would you kind of communicate this era, this chapter of the Fed?
If I told somebody in the milk aisle that I had a task force for that, I think that would be doing a very poor job, so I appreciate it. If I saw somebody in the grocery store, what I would say to them is that we cannot have a very significant effect on particular prices. The price of oil,
I'm keeping the rest of my
today, or even the
short call
price of
spread
a dozen
open.
Eggs,
This is going to, volatility is going to come down
consequences
pretty
to
hard
what
here,
we're
I think.
But we do have a really important job there, and it's to make sure that those changes in oil or beef or eggs or milk don't broaden in the economy, don't have second and third order effects That's our job. That's our commitment. That's our capability, and we're going to deliver on it.
And then is the Fed's relationship with the Treasury also under review? There was the normal breakfast meetings with the Treasury Secretary. Is that something you intend to continue doing? And have you had conversations with the president since you're swearing in?
So on the president, I don't have anything for you. With respect to the Treasury Secretary, he has been posting pictures of our breakfast.
Bitcoin
so
backing off of 66 right here too.
And deny that. The long tradition at the central bank is that the Fed chairman and the Treasury Secretary meet weekly. I think we've pulled off 3 of those so far. I believe he's overseas this week, so this will be the exception to the rule. I think they're very useful discussions. The central bank's objectives and our roles and responsibilities are quite delineated from the fiscal authorities. And in my view, monetary policy is independent in the conduct of what we do. But that doesn't mean we're not interested in what's happening with the fiscal authorities. The way I think about it is this central bank needs to have a wide lens.
Hourly about to close.
Remit. We need to be quite interested in what's happening in the world. I won't be breaking any news here to suggest I'm quite interested in what's happening in the Middle East.
Hourly close coming.
It does have some effect on our day job. It doesn't mean it's our responsibility. But
Slight downside bias, but not much.
And my meetings with Secretary Besson to this point have helped widen that aperture. So we're aware of things that could affect our day job, even if it isn't.
Steve Leisman, CNBC. Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you for taking my question. You had said in the before you became chairman that you thought productivity was a reason why the Federal Reserve could lower interest rates. Do you still believe that to be the case?
So the committee had a discussion of productivity today. AI came up. The way I thought about it before and socialized with the group is that artificial intelligence, the latest generation of general purpose technology, is perhaps as important a change in the economy and business and households that we've had in my adult lifetime. It is filled with both a huge opportunity and with risks. I take both of those very seriously. You may have heard me say before that AI is shorthand perhaps for American ingenuity. That doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. That certainly doesn't mean it's not going to be disruptive. But over the long term, my conviction, and I heard quite a bit of support for this around the committee today, is the United States is a winner as we go down this. The United States is ultimately going to be better off in that. Now, to bring that back to the conduct of policy, timing, scale, speed, implications for output and employment, it's one of the things we have a task force to do.
If you don't mind, a follow-up from the other side, which is that when you look at the strong job growth that's out there, the elevated inflation, GDP seems to be going pretty good, and the stock market seems to be soaring. Do you look around this economy and see the funds rate being restrictive?
So that's your second question. I'm going to give the same answer that I gave before. I'd say as I think about the conduct of policy, what matters is what's the effect of policy. Not what do we say, but what happens. And the best way I can describe it is it's uneven. I do see some restrictiveness in things like housing. It's hard to use those same words anywhere else. I'll just make one other point. You talked about one of our dual mandates on the employment side. I don't believe that we have a cruel choice. I don't share the view that was expressed a few generations ago that Federal Reserve chairmen show up at a podium like this and say, you got to choose. And you're going to have to decide whether you're willing to tolerate higher inflation to put more people at work. I don't believe in that. What I believe is if we do our job, we can make strong growth, low prices, and strong employment mutually compatible. And so what you heard from the committee today is we've got some work to do on the price stability front.
Nick.
That's definitely going to be interpreted a little bit more bearish there.
With Wall Street Journal. Chairman Warsh, you've
I think it's going to probably be like short-term down, and then maybe next meeting or the meeting after that, they get their new ways of calculating data, as he said.
Do that today. Why not?
Something like that.
That judgment you expressed was not expressed by any of the 19 people around the table. We'll be meeting in 6 weeks. We'll take up the issue again.
And if I could ask about AI, the build-out is generating enormous demand right now, CapEx, data centers, power. The productivity payoff may be further out. So in your judgment today, is AI adding more to demand or to supply?
It's a good question. At the central bank in an economics profession, what we spend most of our time doing is counting demand. It's easier. We can see it, we can count it, we can check it, we can revise it. What we do, though, is we infer supply. You'll notice in the second paragraph of what one of your colleagues described as a very short statement, we have a sentence on the demand side and a sentence about the same length on the supply side. They're both important. Just because we can count one better than the other doesn't mean we're going to favor one more than the other. With respect to AI and the growth of data centers and infrastructure around it, we're counting the demand side, and it is no doubt showing up in GDP figures. We can be less certain when we infer the timing and extent of the growth in the supply side. It may well be an intuition the supply side is going to expand, but it'll take longer. I just describe it this way. There's a race between supply and demand. Milton Friedman says that the only thing we know about economics is that there's a supply line and a demand line they ultimately cross. When they cross and what are the implications for policy? The good news for you is
Revise indeed is the magic word.
Andrew.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Hell yeah, Zcash.
It sounded like on the task force on data that you were looking at overhauling or completely overhauling the system.
I think these option premiums they're coming down already really big, and price hasn't really moved. Volatility is collapsing right now.
In a word, no. In a few words, much of this data
Five balls,
gathering
I'd short more of the
happens
66
in other
strike.
government agencies to which we owe a tremendous amount of respect, tremendous amount of deference. But if in the course
don't have
of
balls,
this
though.
we come up with recommendations,
I have a pussy.
which Fed staff have already begun to develop about things that they could be doing to help inform us as policymakers, we're not going to hesitate. Again, I don't want to try to delineate the four corners of the research of the task force on data, but I do think there will be a review of official statistics, and at least as important, a view of bringing the best practices from the
67,500
private
just collapsed.
sector,
Crazy.
and new analytical tools made possible by AI, so we can forge these into a fabric that gives us better real-time information. So as I mentioned before, when we're making decisions that we'd say are real contemporaneous data, not data that we call contemporaneous, that's really an echo of history.
Okay, thanks. The other question I wanted to ask is related to the building renovations. Are you considering any changes to the renovations, the projects, just in light of the fact that they became kind of a
Who gives a
political
shit?
football in the last year?
I heard something about that. I
God
don't think I'm
damn.
breaking any news, but my view, when you show up at a new institution, you should go meet with the Inspector General, just as a matter of good practice. It's a practice that I hope to continue. I've had one meeting with the Inspector General, and he told me what I believe the world knows, which he'll be coming out with a report on the building and the building projects at some point later this summer. And I'll be interested in reading the report. From my perspective, with a forward-looking glance, is there anything that we can be doing or should be doing from this moment until the completion of the project to do what we can to be good stewards of taxpayer money and make sure that we're delivering on the promises that we made? Some more work to do. You might not be surprised in the first few weeks. I've been somewhat preoccupied on other matters, but I promised to get to the full breadth of the Fed's tasks in the weeks ahead.
Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Guida with Politico. So I know that you did not submit a forecast, but you are the person who is authorized to speak on behalf of the FOMC. So I'm wondering if you could tell us in the SEP the increase in the expectations for inflation. Is that all because of the Iran war? What was the discussion around?
He's not going to answer the question. Someone's already asked this. Like, are you fucking listening?
And also potentially growth being slower.
Oh my God.
So my read of what I heard in the room reflected, I must admit, in the SEPs, is half of my colleagues thought the policy rate, given all those developments, should be at this level or lower between now and year end, and the other half thought higher. That 19th voter was me, and I didn't submit one. There's a range of views on the questions of first and second round effects, no resolution or conviction, but we'll be meeting again in 6 weeks. I think we're going to know more then. And
I love those, Bill.
My colleagues are very attentive to
But they do give me the shits.
And can I just quick follow up on the SEP? You said that you're still encouraging your fellow committee members to submit forecasts even if you're not doing it. So what do you think is the benefit of them doing it even if you don't?
That's the commitment that the FOMC made, and it's a commitment that I hope we live up to. Commitment we made was to deliver price stability. I expect us to
Gold
live
just
up to it.
tanked. Let's check it
By
out.
the time we get to the end of
Ooh,
this year,
you're right.
as I mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
there was a new
Okay.
communications framework. There were some changes to the SEP. That's a committee
Yeah,
discussion.
that hidden bearish
robust
Shepard's really
discussion.
building
I
up
think we'll
here.
have it. I believe we're going to come to a better
Yeah.
mix of communications to
I think you're at least in for a gap fill.
deliver on what we promised, but I wouldn't want to prejudge what those are. But between now and then, I would continue to expect colleagues to submit their SEPs. Some of them, I think, believe that the practice is currently structured is okay. But I heard a lot of interest in real reform, generally about all these topics. You didn't ask it, but I'll answer. It was a pretty gracious couple of days, and it's been a pretty warm few weeks. The institution wants to figure out how we can do better. The institution's going back to first principles, and I'm encouraged that what we've done in the statement, what we're thinking about doing with respect to the SEP, that instinct towards a new chapter is a real one, and by the end of the year, I hope we can put some points on the board, both in form and in substance of delivering.
Go to Enda for the last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andy Curran, Bloomberg News. Could you guide us through, please, some of the principles that guide your own reaction function, and tell us a little bit about the kind of conditions that you think when the Fed should respond?
It's going to be a very unsatisfactory answer to the final question.
These fucking reporters don't even
The
listen.
Federal Reserve
God.
has a lot of responsibilities, not just in monetary policy,
Like, such a waste
but
of a question.
supervision and regulation, consumer affairs and payments. My own view is our credibility comes from delivering on what we're saying we're going to do across everything we do. I've devoted more time in my first 3 weeks to monetary policy than all those things. But the more we deliver on our promises as good supervisors and good regulators, the more benefit we get, the more credibility enhancement we have in monetary policy.
Yeah, I agree, Peter.
When we deliver on our price stability
Let's check out
objectives,
SPY.
which we will, the American people will feel as though the hardships that they've been living through, in part because of inflation in the last 5 years, are in the rear view mirror. And that credibility will have dividends across what we do, and the institution will come to press conferences like this,
Yeah.
always with an impetus
It's got to
to
be
reform,
most
always with an
reporters, Bill.
impetus to
Like,
do
they
better,
just
but we're going to put
they
some
just
points
can't
on the
fucking
board.
think.
And Mr. Chairman, we've got strong labour data in recent months.
There's a
How
couple
would you
good questions,
sum up
though.
labour data, labour market right now. Do you see it as stable and as potentially a source of inflation? Thank you.
He would have answered all my questions. He's not going to give anything away, Asti.
If I were to try
That's
to
very clear.
capture how the
There was one guy who
committee
asked a
thought
really
about
good
it,
question
the committee thought that the
about is
labor
it based off of
markets
the
were
Iran
stable.
war?
There were some people around
That would have
the
been my
committee
question,
who thought that it was trending better.
Because I
than
think that would have had some signal in it, but he doesn't want to
Trends
give anything
matter
away.
more than
So
data
fair
points.
enough.
What's happening over 3 or 6 months matters more than any one data point, any one data release. And I'd say the jobs data has been moving in a good direction. If I heard one other thing around that subject over the course of the last couple of days, what I heard was that strong productivity-led growth is not something that we fear, but something we embrace. Thank you all very much.
That was a nice one-liner at the end. All right, I'll stay on for a couple minutes just to see.
Strong productivity.
They're gonna run that back?
Growth is not something that we fear, but something we embrace.
Seems
Thank you all very
unnecessary.
much.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Yeah, Powell has a lot more swag. I'll say that. Yeah, he didn't give anything away. But I think there was one big takeaway from it, which was they're going to embrace new techniques for getting data. So I think that's kind of like they're out. That's kind of like the long-term plan, but I don't think it's going to really amount to anything for right now. Bitcoin trying a little bit of a rally off at 65, but yeah, nothing was really revealed during that. Yeah, in terms of the memes, Powell always going to be maybe the number one. He's great. We love Powell. Yeah, he can definitely talk without saying a lot. I mean, but that's kind of the job right there. I assume that was the whole plan going in. That, you know, he wasn't going to reveal anything. But those fucking reporters, man, it was like variations of the same question over and over again. He was pretty damn clear about what he was going to answer, what he wasn't going to answer, and what they talked about. You know, there's a couple good questions in there, but other than that, man, pretty much nothing. As far as I'm concerned. But yeah, you know, I've just been watching the options for Bitcoin here. Like a lot of the premiums on the like 66 to 68K strikes in the next week or two, those were going down pretty significantly. They should come down even more here, as you know, volatility should come down a little bit more intraday. So yeah, not much going on right there. Nice long stream though. Damn, we haven't had a 3-hour long stream in a long time, man. But look, if you're looking for a short-term range, there's a pretty obvious one now for Bitcoin. It's just going to be this morning's high at 66, what was it, 66.3 or 66.35 to the upside versus the morning, or I guess that was yesterday's low, 64, you know, 500 almost. Anything in between there, it's not going to do much. But look, as long as Bitcoin stays there, option premium is going to collapse. So look, if you're trading options, I mean, that was a nice play. Like I said, I've had balls. I would have shorted the $66,000 strike, but I don't have balls, unfortunately. But, you know, like I said, I'm still short end of month. So I was expecting to honestly have to cover during that. Like, I kind of was expecting him to say, you know, allude to some bullish things. But the most that we really got was just that comment about how they're going to change or embrace new techniques for getting data. So I think that's kind of, you know, you put that into context of like Trump picking him and why Trump picked him and what Trump explicitly said about picking him. You know, that seems to me that that's going to be a setup for later, but, you know, probably not too relevant right now. If my conspiracy brain is working properly, then I would say something like this. I would say, well, shit. Obviously, they don't want to do anything at this exact moment, but perhaps, you know, a little bit closer to midterms, once we get to like end of summer, especially, that would be a good time to start to reveal such new techniques, if you will. But until then, you know, I think it's going to be a nothing burger for like the first meeting or two. You can also imagine that if he was going to say a bunch of bullish things, like there'd be a lot of blowback, especially from the left side. You know, that he's manipulating markets and whatnot, you know, just doing Trump's bidding. So I think that was kind of a good strategic play to kind of come out extremely neutral on his first, you know, on his first meeting. Overall, I mean, I think he actually did a really good job, but just in terms of like fun, not very fun. I didn't like that. That wasn't very fun. So yeah, so fuck that. But yeah, man, you know, that's just the game, I suppose. And, you know, I guess they're playing a pretty smart game, so fair enough. But yeah, for us, you know, watching price action, not much. Should kind of expect, I guess, a little bit of downside here. But like I said, the range is what the range is. If Bitcoin breaks the low side of the range, you know, we got a nice little downside move here back down to probably 63.5 or so. Let's actually check in on the Rev and Ribbons really quickly here. But other than that, you know, to the upside, I expect a run towards, you know, probably like 70, honestly. To the downside, I expect to run towards, yeah, about 63 to 63.5. If Bitcoin closes red today, I think that does set it up for a comeback to about 65. Or sorry, not 65. Duh, it's at 65 right now, but about 63, 63 and a half. But other than that, you know, really didn't get too much out of that. So we shall wait until next time, and we shall reconvene tomorrow. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone joining in as always. Lamachilla Azul is up 12% on a short. Fucking nicely done, sir. Nicely done. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, Pilot Ryan says, think about it. Nothing to see before midterms. Yeah, I imagine like, you know, a couple months before midterms, that's when that stuff starts to come out. Because keep in mind, you know, you have to imagine there is a strategy with all of this. Like, look, I understand that they're supposed to be independent, blah, blah, blah. But who believes that shit. And they've never really truly been independent anyways. So I would imagine like, a couple months before midterms, that's when people start to pay attention to these sort of things. And, if he starts to say some good things, Mark start to do what we really truly all want them to do anyways, then, well, shit, that starts to make that starts to make them look really good at the right time, and that's going to be fresh in people's minds and blah, blah, blah. That would be my conspiracy-minded brain. But yeah, like I said, not much coming out of that one. So fair enough. Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with you on this nice Wednesday, a nice long stream. It's been a long time since we've had one of these. Really enjoyed it. Really, really, truly enjoyed it. Want to say, just want to wish you the best as always. We shall reconvene tomorrow with just another regular video analysis, and then of course another live stream on Friday. And in the future, let's continue with this. Actually, these FOMC streams. I'm actually at a really good time zone right now where we can do that. That was actually quite fun, despite the non-event basically. But yeah, take care, much love, and see you hopefully